Now, for over a decade, ET Now, Leaders of Tomorrow, India's longest-running television show dedicated to celebrating entrepreneurship, has been at the forefront of recognizing MSMEs. Airing Monday to Friday at 7:30 p.m. on ET Now, the show has provided a powerful platform for small businesses to get the recognition they truly deserve. Now tonight, at this grand awards ceremony, we continue our legacy of honoring the most promising MSMEs across diverse sectors. Now this year's theme, Agility, Ambition, Ascent, celebrates entrepreneurs who are shaping India's next chapter. Now, as Mark Zuckerberg once said, and I quote, "The biggest risk is not taking any risk. In a world that's changing quickly, the only strategy that is guaranteed to fail is not taking risks," unquote. And in a world defined by tech disruption, trade tensions, climate shocks, and global volatility, success today is not just about scale. It is about speed, strategic thinking, and the ability to rise intelligently. Before we begin, let's take a look at what Leaders of Tomorrow is all about. Here's a short AV capturing the essence of this flagship initiative. Take a look.
They are dreamers, doers, disruptors. This is the spirit of MSMEs, shaping not just businesses, but building the India of tomorrow. India's economic engine beats with the pulse of MSMEs, resilient, resourceful, and relentless in driving innovation and inclusive growth. For 12 seasons, Leaders of Tomorrow has been championing their journeys in shaping a new entrepreneurial India.
MSMEs are the pillars. They can be leaders of tomorrow.
Leaders of Tomorrow is one unique platform, and like I said, it's in 13th season. Together we must have touched upon more than at least 100,000 entrepreneurs by now. What is your message to them and to somebody who's thinking of getting into entrepreneurship?
With the arrival of AI and new technologies, organizations will always, figure out how to make organizations itself more efficient. So entrepreneurship will have to grow. Being aware and actually putting in practice will help you create a new age entrepreneurship.
We spotlight the vision of entrepreneurs and the wisdom of change makers through stories from tech innovators and legacy brands rewriting the rules. In Season 12, we launched the Leaders of Tomorrow podcast, a digital-first series for Gen Z, featuring candid conversations with founders of bold, new-age Indian brands, revealing the unfiltered side of entrepreneurship. Springboards, our city-specific growth accelerators, bring together industry leaders and business owners to exchange insights that fuel entrepreneurial growth. In the pursuit of excellence, the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards have earned their place as one of India's most respected honors for MSMEs, driven by a credible and transparent jury process. Get ready for a brand new season where we are shaping enterprises and empowering the future.
A very warm welcome to IDFC FIRST Bank presents Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13.
As the iconic show for entrepreneurship steps into Season 13, we carry forward the legacy with the theme, Agility, Ambition, Ascent. Spotlighting entrepreneurs turning ambition into action, their stories becoming the growth engines of a new India. Get ready for a brand new season where we are shaping enterprises and empowering the future. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to IDFC FIRST Bank presents ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13, an entrepreneurial journey with agility, ambition and Ascent.
Ladies and gentlemen, the agenda for Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13 Awards this year focuses on the three defining forces every entrepreneur must master: AI, climate, and policy. And through our curated panels and fireside chats tonight, we will strive to meaningfully address each of these forces and the opportunities they present. We also look forward to saluting the leaders of tomorrow who are revolutionizing India's business ecosystem and are striving to make a mark globally. We'd like to welcome our finalists who are in the audience today, and thank you so much for your participation, and may the best candidates win tonight. Now, ladies and gentlemen, the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards is a result of a meticulous and elaborate process, with every nomination carefully examined and validated by our process partner, EY. The shortlisted nominees presented their case before an esteemed grand jury, comprising some of India's most respected business leaders who we'd like to thank a lot. Our jury was consisting of the chair of Rothschild & Co. India and India Sanitation Coalition, Ms. Naina Lal Kidwai, the chairman in Space, Department of Space, Government of India, and chairman Scale, DPIIT, Government of India, Dr. Pawan Goenka, the chairman of Rasna International, Piruz Kambata, mission director, Atal Innovation Mission, Niti Aayog, Dr. Deepak Bagla, CEO, Univo, Siddharth Banerjee, co-founder, Noise, Amit Khatri, COO and co-founder, Shiprocket, Gautam Kapoor, former CEO, NSDC, and senior fellow, chair in US-India Policy Studies, CSIS, Jayant Krishna, co-founder and CEO, CityFlow, Jaren Venard, CEO, Everready Industries, Anirban Banerjee, Executive Director, Maruti Suzuki India, Shashank Srivastava, President, Chamber for Advancement of Small and Medium Businesses, Nilesh Satish Lele, and Startup Mentor and SME Advisor, Prashant S. Naigaonkar. Also, our sincere thanks to IDFC FIRST Bank for their continued support and commitment to empowering India's entrepreneurs. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as we get ready to kickstart, please do share your photos, your thoughts, your suggestions on social media. Use the hashtag LOTS13 Awards, and you can tag us. Our handle is ETNow_LOT on X and Instagram, and on LinkedIn, we are on ETNow Leaders of Tomorrow. Now, let's take a quick look at the remarkable journey of the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards over the years. Let's take a look.
Every rise begins in the unknown, with belief strong enough to take the leap. This is the spirit of those who don't wait for opportunity. They create it.
You are not just the leaders of tomorrow. You people are the pilots of India's growth engine.
Today's success belongs to those who adapt faster, think bolder, and rise higher. Leaders turning climate challenges into opportunity, harnessing AI to scale impact, and transforming policy into powerful momentum. For 13 seasons, Leaders of Tomorrow has been a guiding light for the MSME ecosystem, distinguishing the trailblazers and bringing India's most agile business minds to the fore. Our city-specific springboard events serve as launchpads, propelling top MSMEs to the next level.
This is one of the finest awards that has been instituted in India over the years by any media house, where every one of the winners and these unsung heroes of India are the ones who are going to be the leaders of tomorrow and make this country proud.
Following a nationwide call for entries that invited MSMEs from across India, the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards began a rigorous and transparent evaluation process across 17 varied categories. Each nomination was reviewed by our process partner Ernst & Young, ensuring the highest standards of integrity and excellence. Finally, before an eminent grand jury, the best made their case. Their verdict shaping the winners of season 13.
It was truly heartening to see the quality of applicants.
They're not building just tactically things, they are building for tomorrow.
It's amazing to see how a new India is emerging.
It's a fantastic forum, amazing job. Please carry it for the next couple of years.
Because greatness is never accidental. It is built on agility, fueled by ambition, and defined by Ascent. Ladies and gentlemen, IDFC FIRST Bank presents ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow Awards Season 13. The celebration of India's brightest entrepreneurs.
Exactly, ladies and gentlemen, that is the story of Leaders of Tomorrow, the story of India's MSMEs, the true backbone of our nation. It's now time for a very special session, but before we proceed, I'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to our presenting partner, IDFC FIRST Bank, without whom this evening would not have been possible. Let's take a quick look at this AB that highlights their vision and commitment to empowering India's entrepreneurs and businesses.
हेलो, कैसे हैं आप? देखिए, वो सफर हो या कोई काम, सदियों से आपने हमारी जिंदगी आसान बनाई। ऐसे ही एक चीज है जिससे बिजनेस बैंकिंग आसान हो जाती है। आईडीएफसी फर्स्ट बैंक की मोबाइल बैंकिंग ऐप में दिखाता हूँ। ये देखिए, इसकी मदद से बिजनेस के लिए पेमेंट गेटवे का जो सेटअप है ना, ऐप में ही बन जाता है। और ये देखा आपने, ऐप पे क्यूआर कोड्स भी क्रिएट हो जाते हैं और सारे ट्रांजैक्शंस एक ही स्क्रीन पर दिखते हैं। ये आपका पीओएस और ये पास, इनकी सुविधा भी आपको उपलब्ध है। ऐसे ही एक्साइटेड हो गए, सुनिए तो सही। एम्प्लॉयज की सैलरी और वेंडर्स के बल्क पेमेंट्स सब के सब ये देखिए मोबाइल से एक साथ हो सकते हैं। और तो और अकाउंटेंट को जब चाहे एक्सेस भी दे सकते हैं आप, पर कंट्रोल हमेशा आपके हाथ में। तो आप भी समझ जाइए, आईडीएफसी फर्स्ट बैंक के मोबाइल बैंकिंग ऐप से अपनी बिजनेस बैंकिंग और भी आसान बनाइए। हाँ,
MSME financing has been at the foundation of building IDFC FIRST Bank from its inception. IDFC FIRST Bank has always maintained that MSME is a wonderful business and MSMEs are great paymasters. They have financed over 1.5 lakh crore rupees of business financing and understand this business intrinsically at the macro and micro segment level. To speak about the agility of MSMEs in the context of today's complex changes, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite up on stage the Managing Director and CEO of IDFC FIRST Bank, Mr. V. Vaidyanathan.
Good evening, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, really great pleasure for me to see every one of you here this evening. And our very heartiest compliments to everyone at ET Now for being consistent with this program for now 13 years. And for each of the 13 years, let me just share, it has been a great privilege for us for being part of this wonderful initiative and program. And of all awards, like Piyush Goyal mentioned earlier in the program, of all programs, like the minister spoke, the MSME award function is brings some excitement and thrill among all of us, because we know everyone here has worked very hard to come where they are. We all understand and we know that, generally speaking, the small entrepreneurs, the micro entrepreneurs, have the hardest life, because their cost of funds is the highest. They have to navigate so many of the rules and regulations and so on. The ability to hire employees are relatively lesser. Unit cost economics are relatively higher. It's hard life. And as you go up the chain, let me just say that when you become a small enterprise, it's a bit better. When you become medium enterprise, life is a little more better. Large corporate, of course, you get the lowest cost of funds. You get the best talent of employees you can hire. So life gets better and better. I can only say that, even when we were a startup, say 15 years ago, and at that point of time, our business financing number was, let me just say, maybe about 90 crores, 100 crores. Today, it's 1.56 lakh crores on the business financing alone in 15 years. Guys, just let me tell you that this is something, we've lived this life ourselves. And very hard. When we started, we were borrowing as an NBFC, we were borrowing money at 13% rate of interest. We were lending at 24%. Now, over a period of time, and whom can you lend at that rate? We were lending at that rate to really small micro entrepreneurs, kirana shops, salons, chemists, etc. Then over a period of time, our rating went up, our cost of funds came down to 9% or 10%, a book became 30,000 crores. Then later in 2018, we merged with IDFC Bank, we became a bank. Now our cost of funds come down to 6%. And therefore, scale has become bigger. Now loan book is like 2.8 lakh crores. The deposits are under 2.8 lakh crores, growing at about maybe 22% per annum. So life is better. Of course, we feel life is better now. But transiting this life from being a relatively small entity to a let me say, medium-sized entity today, our combined business is about 5.8 lakh crores. We have 40 million customers. Like I said, our deposit book is growing by 20% plus. So while in the transition we have experienced it, and I can therefore feel every entrepreneur who's coming through this tracks how hard or easy this job must be. In that context, to come through the award ceremony and reach here, and hopefully all the winners will win today, really very, very heartiest compliments from all of us at IDFC FIRST Bank. Now, and let me also say that today's subject that I saw here is agility, ambition, and Ascent. Okay, let me just speak about one subject, agility. We all saw, during COVID, that many MSME or SMEs who were into garment making, within a matter of month, 2 months, they pivoted into making PPEs. I don't remember the full form of PPE. I think personal protection equipment, I'd imagine. But the PPEs, they converted to making PPEs at that point of time. And India was the initial importer of PPE. India became an exporter. Why? Because MSMEs could pivot, and because they had agility for that. They had the agility to become from a, let me say, an offline entity to becoming an online entity. Pharma companies who were started making alcohol-based sanitizers. They could do that. And each one of you, of course, represent that ability to have agility. The second thing that you talked about is ambition. You can see that in everybody, right? And this ambition, of course, to be fair, is your ambition. There's nothing happens achieved without ambition and wanting to achieve something, but also supported by the fact that the Indian government has been making a very pro-business, policies, so much of effort for the ease of doing business over the last many years, where India's gone up in the ease of doing business ranking, so much of effort for Make in India, and each one of these things will actually power it up. We know life is difficult, but at the same time, with the evolution and the growth of Indian economy, currently 4 trillion, we're now talking of 30 trillion, as India goes towards the 2047 Viksit Bharat. All this will be a big opportunity. And, the many new industries will be coming up very soon. For example, every new industry coming up in the country now will bring with itself new areas and opportunities for MSMEs. If you take the case of data centers that is coming up in India, with data centers will come the fiber, will come the cable, will come the cooling equipments, you get the drift. Green and let me say, infrastructure coming up or energy coming in India will be a very big opportunity. Semiconductors is a big growth area for the country. You can see how much government is pushing that, and then that will become a big opportunity, and there will be many, knock-on subsequent industries that will come from there. The climate is a very big one. India, about 3-4 years ago used to get about $800 million, currently getting about $2 billion. The target is to start getting about $8 or $10 billion in climate financing. So each one of these new things coming up. Automobiles, when automobiles came, how many downstream, thousands of downstream businesses came into India. When telecom industry came, so many came into India. So therefore, so many new industries are coming up in India. Each one of them will have their own chain of business coming up. And of course, all businesses will grow with that, and SMEs will grow with that and all that. When we talk of, AI, talk of agility, again, the big thing is, of course, AI. So many people often worry, with the arrival of AI, will it be detrimental for MSMEs or will it be a positive for MSMEs? And I'll try to address that in a very brief way. So it is true that large corporations, with the arrival of AI, are able to, hire the best people, to do the transformations and put the stack together and so on. But it can also be a very big leveler, trust me on this front, because if you are a startup and you try to make a website in the earlier era, it would be very expensive for you. Today, you know how you can make a website. No, you can do, it can come up like that. Similarly, developing a mobile app, people can make mobile, of course, not a fully deep integrated system mobile app, but at least the basic architecture with the latest design, you can make a mobile app in maybe a matter of weeks, and a reasonably good looking, reasonably functional one with all the API connected, etc. Not into all your tooling systems, into your integrated systems, but good enough for a start. If you think of, if you're making an ad, in the earlier days, for example, large corporations would have an ad agency. The ad agency would, make the ad, and they would come back to you. Of course, it would take more time. But today, you could all of you know that you can go to any of these applications. You can give a prompt, and you can get an ad out. It may not be very perfect, but you can good for a start and so on. So you will see so many documents, for example. Now, if sometimes your heart would stop at saying, "Oh, this entity has 1,000 people who are doing document processing." In your case, for example, now you don't need so much of document processing because you can train your AI to now read your passport. You can train the AI to read your license. You can train every archetype in about 2 or 3 weeks. You can train it, and after that, it will not only read the passport for you, or not only read the license for you. It will also do value-added analysis on top of it. We at IDFC FIRST Bank, I'm telling you, we are financing, you'll have to hold your breath to listen to the number, over 1.2 million customers a month now, okay? And this, the power of the, digital ecosystem is coming about. And out of that, let me tell you, that's like next to about 13 or 14 million customers on lending side alone. And out of that, 1.2 to 1.5 million customers are new to credit. Not possible in the normal times. Because, because of the digital ecosystem and so on. So I'm trying to just point out to you that this AI is a massive, force multiplier. And in a way, for the examples I gave you, small enterprises can, the playing field has been leveled, in my opinion, and can actually get faster, provided you're able to consume it and have the proclivity for it. Otherwise, you'll fall behind. Earlier, I used to actually say in some of these forums that if you are not digitally enabled, no matter how hardworking you are, how motivated you are, how much of ambition you have, you're going to go nowhere. But I'd say definitely if you're not in the AI world and not fully clued on, you will fall behind. And doesn't mean you need to have all the AI skills yourself. It's not that complicated. But, there are many entities who can provide you the solutions from outside as a horizontal, which can work for your entire industry. So we therefore feel that, overall, with the arrival of the Indian digital ecosystem, with the powering up of the Indian economy, with the arrival of AI, with the arrival of, and your own ambition enterprise, I'm honestly very, very bullish. Very bullish. I'm very bullish for our organization because I think that we got the digital ecosystem and technology and the app and the stack and the UI UX and the design layer we just got it, and we are now able to, sprint ahead. But I do feel that for every MSME who's in this room, it is really a big opportunity. The startup ecosystem is coming about. Every startup in turn will require the MSME architecture. The Reserve Bank of India is supporting it. They're calling it a priority sector. The government is supporting it. You can see the announcements coming in the budget. So you get the drift that you got the support of the entire ecosystem, and that's a really big thing because we all grow with the support of the ecosystem. So on behalf of all of us at IDFC FIRST Bank, I want to just say a very big thank you to every one of you for being who you are and for your enterprise. And together, all of you are really making India and are bringing the employment to the country and so on and so forth, and bringing new solutions for all of us in the country. So thank you very much, every one of you. And once again, very special thanks to ET. Thank you very much. I want to just say that in the closing, that when I just walking by, my colleagues here also say something about IDFC FIRST Bank. So I said a few things to you in the passing, but I must read out to you some very special features that IDFC has for you. It's let me say partial or event. So let me just take the opportunity of saying that on the business banking front, actually bank is giving current account with 0 fees on 40 services. On 40 services, 0 fees, IMPS, NEFT, RTGS, you name the services, cash pickup, cash delivery, all that. It's a one app for your business need and your personal need. You can avail your QR and a Soundbox and a POS and PG. You can have escrow and BBPS and eNash, API, ERP banking, bulk tax payments. Converting a current account to fixed deposit. The bank has put together a lot of stack. We'll really be very happy for all of you to avail from IDFC, and also to close to every one of the winners of this evening. Very, very heartiest compliments from every one of you. We have many dignitaries. We see Naina Lal Kedwai here, and we saw Pawan Goenka here, and we saw every one of the jury. I know many of them, and they are really stellar people with high levels of achievement and integrity. So whoever is winning today, you truly deserve it. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, bye.
Thank you for that, Mr. Vaidyanathan. Ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get to know a little bit more about what Sir spoke about the IDFC FIRST Bank features, we have a kiosk outside. The entire team from IDFC FIRST Bank is here, so you can get any queries answered on that. What I loved about Sir's speech was he spoke about the early days of IDFC FIRST Bank. So I'm hoping SMEs or all the entrepreneurs here would be taking back his experiences as feedback for yourselves. And of course, he spoke about the theme agility, ambition, Ascent, and yes, the most important part about AI and how everybody needs to be digitally enabled today. We will be talking more on that subject in a bit, but our next fireside chat is one that dives into a theme that couldn't be more relevant right now. It's on building Bharat's industrial future. Now we have with us a visionary leader and a Padma Shri whose journey spans global automotive innovation and now India's rapidly evolving space ecosystem. Now, as the chairman of InSpace under the Department of Space and the chairman of Scale under DPIIT, he continues to shape India's industrial roadmap. And he will be in conversation, and our moderator for this conversation, ladies and gentlemen, is someone who has worked with ISRO for over 14 years on landmark missions, including Chandrayaan and Gaganyaan, and he's represented India at multiple global space forums, addressing critical challenges such as space debris mitigation. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming on stage, first up, the moderator, founder and CEO of CosmoServe and former ISRO scientist, Dr. Chiranjeevi Phanindra, and he will be in conversation. Put your hands together for the chairman InSpace, Department of Space, Government of India, and the chairman Scale, DPIIT, Government of India, Dr. Pawan Goenka. This conversation truly is going to be out of this world.
Hello, mic testing. Am I audible? Yeah. So first of all, it's a pleasure sharing stage with you. I'm honored to be here with you. So while I was pitching to the Western world, I always used to get this question. Before even I introduce the product, I always used to get this question. Other than cost advantage, what are your moats? I feel we collectively positioned ourselves as a cost advantage vendors. But what do you think structurally should be changed in the MSMEs from this to playing a global competitive manufacturers to become a global manufacturers in the context of India's current ambitions on manufacturing?
Thank you, Chiran, and thank you for having me here. Good to be with all of you. I should say that I enjoyed being on the jury of the awardees, and I was there with me. And looking forward to all the awardees coming on the stage and receiving well-deserved recognition for what they have achieved. Now, see, cost advantage itself can be a moat, but not if it is just cost advantage. It has to be supported by many other things. So the way I would like to put it is that you must own the secret sauce. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but by that I mean that you have to have some process, some design, something that is yours that nobody else has. And if you have that and you have cost advantage on top of that, then that's an unbeatable proposition. You also need to have, if you want to be globally competitive, and by competitive I don't just mean cost, everything, you have to have scale. Without a scale, you cannot reach the level of quality, and I'm not going to talk in terms of space here, because space doesn't have a scale, so we'll talk about space separately, but I'm talking like automotive, toys, furniture, whatever else. So you have to have a scale, and scale means that as an MSME, you cannot be doing little bit of everything. You have to have a core. Yeah. You have to have a core process, a core material, a core design that will give you the excellence that you have, which will again attract your buyers towards you.
Right. I think a unique process and unique capabilities over the cost is what defines the MSMEs. I appreciate your answer. And the startups survive, the startups that survive the 5-year mark are typically 10 to 15%. And if we are looking forward for 10 years, what differentiates the MSMEs that be the global or the India's leaders compared to the ones which quietly disappear?
So let's first see why startups survive 5 years. Startups are doing what large companies will not do. Startups are doing what MSMEs also, the traditional MSMEs will not do. Because they are charting unknown territory. They're getting into things that no one knows how to succeed in. New technology, new process, new way of doing business, whatever it might be. And therefore, in a sense, the kind of risk they're taking, 1 out of 5 surviving or 2 out of 5 surviving is what one would expect. But the 1 or 2 that survive redefine the future for us. And you can see around us the survivors that have redefined everything that we are so used to today. So I don't see there's anything wrong in only 15-20% surviving after 5 years. But why do they not survive? Again, one is risk. The second is that when they're building their business not on a very differentiated offering. They're building it by buying customers on the value of investors who are giving them money, which is okay. You can buy customers in the beginning, but at a point of time, buying customers will not take you forward. Right. You have to have that fundamental business proposition that will take you forward. So you look at any startup that has succeeded. Yes, in the beginning, they all lost a lot of money. In the beginning, they're underpriced. In the beginning, they provided service or product that was unaffordable at that price for the provider. But then they went into something that really set them apart. In case of MSMEs, when you differentiate MSME and suppliers, they're not getting into something that's as much risk as what startups are doing. They're getting into established business model. Make something, do something, get a customer, do something for them, set up a unit, and so on and so forth. So the survival rate will be very high. Now your question is that what will make you succeed in eternity? Yeah. Let me not say 10 years, but let's say eternity. Now, I don't think it's one of 2 or 3 or 4 things. It's multiple things that you have to do well in. The old-fashioned execution excellence, I will never undermine. Sometimes people think that execution is okay now, that's past, I don't need to worry about it, it will happen, AI will take care of it, AI will not take care of it, AI will not give you execution excellence. It has to come from you. So you cannot compromise with that. But beyond that, what will help you to survive is financial prudence. What will help you to be relevant is quality, productivity. What will help you to grow will be technology. What will help you to sort of accelerate will be agility and adaptability, which is the theme today. And finally, what will make you really, really thrive will be scale. So if you look at this sort of gradation of what I need to do, where I start as a startup, or as a, not a startup, but as an MSME, and how do I move up the value chain so that someday I'm not an MSME anymore. Every MSME has to strive to not remain MSME after a few years. And that's one of the things that you have to have, that ambition to go beyond being MSME. Many people want to remain MSME because they think they give me the benefits that you get from the government and this, that, and the other, and therefore I must remain MSME. They'll open one more company and one more company and one more company, but remain MSME, which is not the ambition. So you have to look at this gradation of how I move forward. How do I become very good in one thing that I'm doing, then expand to do 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 5 things, do sub-assemblies, products, and so on and so forth. So I think it's a journey. There's nothing, no rocket science in it. It's a very straightforward journey that you have to do. And in the core of it, I think you cannot at all undermine the role technology will play.
Right.
Any MSME, any company for that matter, who does not adopt technology, and this is not something new, that's not something 2 years or 3 years old, it's there from very beginning, you cannot really thrive forever.
Okay. So technology adoption, execution excellence, quality and scale are these are the important.
The old-fashioned. There's nothing new. It's old-fashioned. That will always remain like that.
Right. Right. Thank you. So which sector do you believe will define the next industrial wave for the MSMEs? I'll give you some options here.
In India?
In India. Space, defense, EVs, semiconductors, and the last option is none of the above. It can be anything of your choice.
So is this KBC where I get an award if I am right?
I have to ask the 18 of people.
Okay. See, let me first say that India has immense potential in export.
Yeah.
No matter which sector you pick, where India is today, and what is the overall trade globally, there's not a single sector where India has its fair share. You take something as boring as furniture, toys, something as exciting as semiconductors, electronics, something in the middle like automotive, whatever. We don't have our fair share in export.
Right.
But what will it take for us to get that fair share is a different fireside chat. We won't get into that today. But today we'll talk about where MSMEs can play a role. So if I look at 2 sectors, which I think, and these are both, I think in your list that you've given, where perhaps there will be a guaranteed growth in India in the next 5 to 7 to 10 years. The first one is defense. Now, the reason I'm saying defense is that, A, the way the geopolitical situation is, the defense budget of every country is going to grow. B, India has proven recently that their arms and armaments are almost world class now, right? Very reliable. They are successful and they are now slowly getting recognized around the world, and many third world countries or countries developed at the level of India are now beginning to import defense equipment from India. And number 3, Indian government is focusing very heavily now on local procurement of defense. And defense is an area where I think MSME will probably provide 80% of value.
Okay.
And the final aggregator will probably do 10, 15, 20%. Therefore, for MSME, I think defense will be a very big opportunity. But defense is also technology.
Right.
You cannot get to defense, succeed in defense if you don't have technology. Defense is also very high quality. But there is no way you can sort of afford for any defense equipment to fail at the wrong time, right? That's one area. Second area, I think, is electronics. Now, there again, we have seen how India has significantly grown in the electronics manufacturing thanks to many, many initiatives the government of India has taken. And that's going to continue to grow because the ambitions that India has in electronics are very high. The kind of number that you hear about, $500 billion export, $1 trillion export in a 5-year, 10-year time frame. And electronics is a game of scale, there's no doubt. Okay, you cannot really be competitive in electronics if you are not large scale. But at the same time, it is also for MSMEs. Now, it may seem contradictory, but what I'm trying to say is that if MSMEs pick one thing and say, I'm going to make hundreds of millions of these per year and be the best in the world in doing that.
Right.
You shouldn't be picking a little bit of this, little bit of that, little bit of that, and say, I got one order from you to do this, one order from him to do something else, one order from him to do something else. You will not succeed. You focus on that one core that you want to define, stay with that, and aspire to grow out of being an MSME as quickly as you can.
Yeah, nice, very nice. I think defense and electronics I can take from this answer. The next question is, you are closely associated with the space sector for almost like 6 years now, I guess. Now, I was also there at ISRO. So at space sector, we operate at high precision, and then we also operate at reliability and then long-term vision. So what lessons can the MSMEs take from the space sector, Indian space sector?
So see, if we talk about space, I think we should change chairs because you know more about space than I do. See, let me compare space to automotive. The two sectors I know a little bit about. And I often quip that one thing about space is there are no workshops in orbit. There are no service stations. If something fails, it's done. It's over, right? Therefore, in space, there is absolutely zero room for any failure, right? Any large failures that you see of spacecrafts, of launch vehicles, anywhere in the world, not just in India, they're always because of some small thing, very small thing, going wrong somewhere, probably supplied by MSME, right? So therefore, precision, quality, technology, and of course it's often built to print, but even so technology is extremely important. Even in space, there are many suppliers in Indian context who are supplying to ISRO, you know them very well, as component suppliers like Centum, like Anand Technologies, like Astra Microwave, who have now moved up the value chain, and they're no more MSMEs. They have their own technology, supply their own products. So I think space MSME situation is very different. The difference is that cost is less important. Quality and technology is non-negotiable.
Right.
If you can bring space, technology, and quality into automotive cost, you can imagine what can happen.
Fantastic. So space technology at automotive cost, wonderful. Yeah, and you lead the development of SUVs, and then you build the R&D culture as well as product portfolio in the automotive industry. What leadership trait do the Indian MSME founders should get to lead in the global markets?
See, I believe, so let me first go back to the Scorpio experience for a second. When we started Scorpio way back in 1996-97, the Indian automotive supplier base was primarily built to print. Almost nobody had any ability, except for few multinationals, of doing any design work, doing any R&D work. One of the good things that happened during that time, thanks to the work that we did, thanks to the work that Tata Motors did and few others, that many of these suppliers started becoming what we call full service suppliers. In fact, one of the biggest compliments that I received during Scorpio was one of the very big supplier today told me, Dr. Goenka, you have made us metal bender to a real true supplier.
Okay.
Right? So that evolution that happened in automotive industry is in some sense, I would say, a benchmark that many industries have to follow. Now, one of the biggest enabler of that was that the responsibility for making MSMEs as good as OEMs in terms of quality, in terms of ability to design, in terms of processes, was taken by OEMs themselves. They were not depending on some kind of incentive given by somebody, because if you don't deliver the right product to me, my car fails.
Right.
My car fails, my customer will not buy my car tomorrow, right? So that OEMs working with the suppliers, with the MSMEs, to help them to go up the value chain is something that the automotive industry did very well. And today, automotive industry can probably boast of having the strongest supplier base of any other sector in India. Right? So the leadership lesson simply was for the MSME founder, they are in most cases promoters, very few professionals, most cases promoters, was the aspiration they had at that time when they were very small to become global. And I think there's a word here, ambition, right? Ambition. Become global. And their willingness to learn from those who know better. So this willingness to learn is very important. And sometimes something gets into your head saying, I know everything. I'm the boss, I know everything, I don't need to learn. And that is the beginning of the fall. The moment, the day you think I know everything, you should retire and stop doing anything because then you will never be able to contribute.
Yeah. I think biggest thing to unlearn is I know everything. Yeah, very good. Since we have some time, I'll go with one more question. So when I joined ISRO, I was given a suggestion that I should improve my knowledge in one particular domain and then become a journalist when I grow in my career. But when I started hiring people at Cosmos of Space, what we are seeing is majorly the current generation is trying to become journalists at the starting because they are doing multiple domains, all buzzwords. They are trying to do internships in almost all buzzwords. Now, what do you think the future ready workforce for the MSMEs should be like?
Okay, I think this question perhaps is not specific to MSMEs.
And not, yeah.
I would say look at it slightly differently, and it's in some sense out of this discussion that we're having, and it's a very important point that you brought out. See, one of the biggest problem that we see in India, and that I see in India, that everybody wants to be in general management.
Yeah.
Okay? The general management cannot do management if they're not specialists who provide the pipeline of technology, of product, of processes and everything. Unfortunately, if you are a senior engineer and you tell your neighbor, I'm a senior engineer, oh. If you say, I'm a manager, oh, really?
Yeah.
So that sort of social thing about being a manager in your title is unfortunately weighing on many people's mind, and therefore everybody wants to move out. Now, in some sense, I would say Government of India has done an extremely good job in keeping people in technology, and giving them the incentive to continue to move up. And there cannot be a better example of it than ISRO. In ISRO, you will have people at the level of secretary in Government of India who are technical specialists.
Right.
Nowhere else, you can ask everybody in this room, nowhere else you will have technical people who have nobody reporting to them at the level of the MD of the company. ISRO does that,
yes.
Right? DRDO does that. And that, I think, is some sense a key to ensuring that now in Mahindra we had tried, it took us many years, finally we managed to establish what we call technical ladder, which then allowed people to want to stay in technology and not move out to general management. So in a sense, now coming back to your question in a few seconds, future ready, moving away from technology thing that we just talked about, a future ready workforce must have two things, agility and adaptability.
Yeah.
The world is changing very rapidly. You don't know when you wake up in the morning and open your WhatsApp, what will be the new social truth message coming from our favorite Mr. Trump. So, world is changing very rapidly, and therefore whatever you learn today may not be relevant for tomorrow.
Yeah.
Therefore, agility and adaptability are the two traits that everyone, every individual, every workforce, every manager has to have, because there's enough knowledge available for you to adopt. There's enough agility, if you have that, to be able to adopt that, will take you forward. So I believe these are the two words that one should always try and see. Am I agile? Am I adaptable?
Okay, I think we need to adopt that. Instead of managers, we should call engineering managers. So the both engineering and the managers both will be respected together. And thank you very much. It was.
See, all the government PSUs also have chief engineer titles.
Right.
Very few companies have chief engineer titles. Because chief engineer somehow is not valued in private sector, but valued very heavily in the government.
Yeah. It's certainly a pleasure talking to you, sir, and happy that I could share the stage with you. Thank you very much. We are on time. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Dr. Chiranjeevi and Dr. Pawan Goenka. Very important words of wisdom there. And he spoke about one of the tenets of our theme, which is on agility, the importance that MSMEs need to adapt, especially how they have been adapting in this uncharted territory, in the space sector. Of course, he spoke about the importance of technology. We all know that. I loved his last answer about you never know what you'll get next morning in your WhatsApp message, what's happened there in the West, and that could just upend your whole way of functioning. But the good point that he did mention was that India has immense potential, especially in exports. So I'm sure many of you here in the hall today are working towards that. All right, moving from agility to ambition to our next panel. Before that, ladies and gentlemen, if you've liked any of the sessions, you've taken back any of your key points from here, do share that on social media using the hashtag LOTS13Awards. All right, moving on to our next panel discussion. In an era marked by global volatility, shifting trade alliances, geopolitical tensions, and economic uncertainty, this next panel will explore how India can pursue bold ambition without losing strategic clarity. So what does true ambition look like in a fragmented world? For India's MSMEs, it may not be about scale alone, but about innovation, digital depth, and global credibility. To lead this conversation, I'd like to invite up on stage news editor, Times Network, Ritvika Gupta, and she will be in conversation with her panel. Please put your hands together for the panelists. We have the chair of Rothschild & Co. India and India Sanitation Coalition, Nainalal Kidwai, the chairman of Rasna International, Firuz Khambata, and the co-founder and managing director of Hiranandani Group, Dr. Niranjan Hiranandani. Let's give them a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Sumit, and a very good evening to everybody here. And all the very best to all the nominees who are present in the audience today. And thank you so much, panelists, for joining us today at the ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow Awards. You know, it gives me great pleasure to be moderating this panel discussion, especially at a time when a lot is happening around the world, economically, geopolitically, digitally. So my first question, and it's a common question to all three panelists, what does ambition truly signify today? Especially in a fragmented world, what does ambition truly mean? And for MSMEs, what does smart ambition look like? Is it about building scale, or is it rather about building shock absorbers? Let's start with you, Bruce.
For me, my ambition is to survive if a nuclear war happens. Nowadays, that is only the topic. How will we get safe? So, jokes apart, I think if you ask me, times have changed. When 20 years back, and what we were youngsters, the ambition was very different than today. And if you ask me, your question is more towards the youngsters, what their ambition should be. In my simple one line would be, how do I set up an enterprise in such a manner that I make enough and good money, but I am also useful to society and useful to my nation. And I am a strong believer that entrepreneurship should focus on social entrepreneurship and laying the foundations for the growth of a new India. I don't honestly believe that Viksit Bharat can be achieved without small success stories at ground level. Imagine a farmer getting it as an entrepreneur and doing something in his farm. So all these stories make up what I call Viksit Bharat. And I think the ambition should be that all of us should be part of this Viksit Bharat journey by showing that small entrepreneurship, in short.
Absolutely. Nano?
Well, I'd like to believe that the ambition to succeed and the ambition to survive, as Firuz just also pointed out, kind of go together. But the change that is also developing is that it isn't just the ambition to grow for the sake of growing. It isn't just about the top line. It's also about EBITDA and profit and how I can deploy money back in my business so I can keep pivoting and changing as indeed the environment is going to require. So the survival cannot be just about tacking on growth at the top. But in doing this, you hear a lot about the word moat today. And what is the moat? The moat is your ability to create that moat around you that enables you to survive. And that can be, your ambition has to be, as you heard from Pavan a little earlier, if you are a quality or a cost competitive supplier to a company, the moat you have created is you become less replaceable. So how do you ensure that you have that salience, that dependability, that integration with your buyer, that you cannot be replaced? And this would be particularly true for those MSMEs that are part of a supply chain. So making sure that you are a leader in your space, whether it is by using technology, whether it is because you are digitally adept, whether it is because you understand your client and customers in a way that you are indispensable. And in order to do that, because the client and customer keeps pivoting, you are back to that agility. So the ambition has to be that you are agile, that you are resilient, that you can learn from failure, that you can continuously progress in a way that you grow, but grow profitably.
Wonderfully put. Mr. Hiranandani, same question to you.
I think we're already at 7.2 and 7.4% GDP growth. We now need to target 10%. Because if we have to reach the level at which China or America is, and we aspire in that direction, growth is imperative. And there's no two ways about it. You either treat this as an opportunity, or you treat it as a headwind which is going to bring you down. So it's really up to us to look at it from a positive angle. Look at the idea of China, what it was when it went double-digit GDP growth. It focused on manufacturing, on infrastructure, on housing. And these three segments brought the country to a double-digit GDP growth where it went ahead of the rest of the world, including India, in a very short period of time. That is the opportunity today. So anybody who doesn't look at growth today will be left behind because the India is going to grow. Now, whether you as a company, you as an institution grow, yes or no, compared to the rest of the people, that's up to you. So growth is imperative. All the other points which Naina just mentioned, I think both are important because integrity, honesty, growth has to be there. If you want to make a name, if you want to make a brand, if you want to be sustainable, then all those aspects are there. Otherwise, you'll have a fast growth and a fast death. So you have to decide between the two. Are you only looking at growth per se in terms of a short-term commitment to the angle which you're looking, or are we looking at a long-term commitment to the brand? Yes, you may fail in some cases. You may have a setback, whether you're an MSME or you're a large company. If you're not going to be entrepreneurial, if you're not going to be innovative, if you're not going to change with the time, if you're not going to incorporate AI, whether you're an MSME, whether you're a big company, whether you're the largest company, I think you have no choice. So change is another thing which you have to imbibe so fast. I'm working 45 years in my life. The changes that are taking place in this year is more than that has happened in the last 15 years for me alone in only real estate, which is the slowest requirement in terms of AI and other things. We are hard assets. So you don't really have to do it. And yet we find that if we don't change fast enough, improve ourselves fast enough, we are out. So on both these questions, whether you're an MSME, whether you're a country and all, the opportunity of growth in the next 5 years is imperative. Let's take a small example. Mumbai, for example, as a city. In 65 years, we had 190 kilometers of suburban railway. Central Railway, Western Railway, Harbour Line. In the next 2 years, we will add 300 kilometers of metro alone. A cross-harbour bridge which will open up land equivalent to half the land of Mumbai empty across the harbour. A new airport and a third airport being planned. We are already talking about $1 trillion economy only in the greater MMR region. When today India is $3 trillion economy. So we are already picturizing a growth exponential which is so large. So growth is imperative. You want to participate in that to what extent? With all the other hedgements and troubles, you have to do it. But I don't think you can not have growth and face the world in the next few years.
No, absolutely. And, taking the macro picture, and Pirooz, I want to bring you in here. India has signed a lot of international trade agreements recently. And I read an article where it said that India's trade, diplomacy could lead to global dominance. I want to know, what is the on-ground reality for businesses? How are they impacting businesses, and especially, a business like yours in the FMCG space?
It's a big achievement of the government. 7 months, around 7 treaties. And we should give them full credit. And we should also give credit to the teams who have been part of these hard negotiations. And many of these treaties have been done on an equal footing. This is not that we have really kneeled and done something. So I think we should give full credit to that. Now coming to how we are going to use it, like my own company, the treaty with UAE has been used fully. We are very happy with what the treaty in Australia and New Zealand is, and we are actually reaping the benefits of this already on our books, so to put very specifically question, specific answer. Yeah. Europe is something still going in the we don't know what's going to happen. US is still in the works, because this is like an interim arrangement, so we really don't know. But I can tell you that the Gulf states is going to be much faster. They already signed something. The Oman delegation was here in Ahmedabad, and I hosted them just last week. And if you ask me, I saw that some of the things have already started being implemented. And secondly, it is not only about trade. Many of these agreements have what I call other benefits also, like the manpower we can easily send, in terms of, what I call service sector. So there are many other issues also. And I think the biggest single thing is that today India was a big market. Imagine half the world is now Indian market today. So if I'm a manufacturer, I'm not only looking at India to sell my products, I am looking at half the globe. If I am making, let us say I was making chutney for the world, today I can make kimchi for the world from sitting in India. I was making papad, I can make noodles for the world. And I think this is the big story. And I do expect that, like in manufacturing, textiles, people started moving to India as a definitely source. I believe in food, FMCG in particular, people will start, even FMCG, the duty, or it is using India as a source. Because today, who wants to make in Europe? Who wants to make in USA? So I do and expect companies to come in and make in here, Indian companies to make it, and even the big retailers to source their requirements with their label, their technology, which is something huge, which I do believe my own company is getting into it in a big way in India. So this is the big opportunity I see in front of me today.
Right, and Mr. Hiranandani, I want to get you involved here because, ultimately, if India wants to leverage, all these trade deals that we're talking about, infrastructure, logistics will be, the main backbone of it all. Do you believe that India's infrastructure and urban development have evolved to meet this kind of a global ambition, trade ambition?
We are evolving. We have not evolved. We are evolving because we are doubling the number of airports in the next 5 years. We are evolving because we construct 35 kilometers of national highway per day. We are evolving because we are putting lots of new ports which are going to take place. We are putting up metros and other things we are trying to get PLI to do the manufacturing end of the entire operations. So the answer is yes, we are evolving. The question is, there are too many gaps which are there. Let's take real estate, for example, because that's my field of activity. The growth story in the last year was 10%. This year is going to be 12 to 14% growth in infrastructure and housing. But we are 2 million skilled construction workers short in a country where we have underemployment and unemployment. So when we talk about growth, if you don't marry all the components, earlier every time it was money, and we had to go to Naina for money all the time. So we had to go to her or equivalent somebody. Today that day is gone. Today there's no shortage of money for any project which is worthwhile today to talk. So money is not the constraint, but there are hundreds of other constraints which we are. Ease of doing business, for example. We're talking about it, but on the ground there are lots of gaps which we already see. So when we say that we have to get what we have to get, when you target that type of growth, at least marry it with the rest of it, which the gaps are obvious, seen, and on the ground. And if you do that, then you solve multiple problems. Otherwise, you'll be like Nepal, where you educate a lot of people, no jobs, they throw down the government because there are no jobs and people are educated over there. So there's this thing. So while we do a lot of good work, not good work, great work, fast work, wonderful work, but we are not able to identify these gaps which are there. And if we identify the gaps and see to it that the end-to-end matters are taken care of, the growth of the country, don't have to worry, it is going to happen. And let the headwinds be there. So the other countries, we have an opportunity. This is a gap. Take the instance of Vietnam. Vietnam was totally destroyed just 15 years ago, 20 years ago. Just have a look at it now. The manufacturing is there. The tourism is beyond imagination. What has happened? So we have all these opportunities which are there in our country. And I do say that if we can encash those opportunities in the next couple of years, we will be somewhere which you cannot even imagine. Today would look like, 20 years ago and backward. But we have that opportunity. So we should take advantage of it. Second, and Naina should be able to confirm with us more on that. We do believe that the constraint on capital and what is it that we need to do to make 5x come in. Because we have the projects, we have the profitability, they're executable, our speed of execution has improved, all the other components are really coming in. So is there a dearth of capital ever going to happen? Because today we see surfeit of capital all over the world. So I think that aspect of it is really taken care of, provided Naina can guide us on that issue.
Absolutely. And speaking of capital, Naina, definitely, I want to know your take. How do you see this story playing out? And because, you are meeting a lot of founders, from an investor's perspective, how are you seeing founders react to volatility? Are they pivoting too fast or too slow? What's your take on that?
So yes, I do work a lot with private equity and venture capital. And the good news is, this whole landscape didn't really exist a decade ago, and it is available today. So the good news is, Niranjan, to your question, that equity, which was in short supply, is available. I was also very struck by Vedi's presentation on what IDFC, for example, is doing. The fact that startups can access banks for capital is not something I would typically have imagined possible, because it was seen as mom and pop capital, it was seen as angel investing, it was seen as a space for equity. But for banks to step up to support the startup universe is really new, and it comes with the help of digital technologies, it comes with the help of AI, with data analytics. You get the confidence of being able to figure out who to lend to, how to lend to, and indeed, as I hear IDFC also doing, is aligning with the venture capitalists. So you begin to understand who those venture capital funds are indeed supporting. And this is a very new world in terms of capital coming available to the startup universe. I was also very struck at being on this jury, where it's always a learning experience, where, if you read the newspapers today, you would think every startup has to just be in tech. It's fintech, this tech, that tech. And yes, technology becomes very critical in a country where logistics is improving but still catching up. And the tech-enabled fields don't need that logistics support as much as if you're moving goods and product. And while logistics have improved, maybe they're not fully competitive. The good news is, and looking at the universe that we were analyzing as a jury, is two things that struck me. One, that there were winners there with product, and it wasn't just about the tech end of things. Of course, they were using technology to improve the product. Yes, they were pivoting in terms of the agility being shown to come up with new ways to solve problems. But it was also about actual industry, manufacturing, product. And the second thing that struck me was, it wasn't about a whole bunch of IIT folks coming out and setting up industry. There were 40 and 50-year-olds who understood businesses they were in, saw problems that needed solving, and went for it. And to Feroze's point earlier, also solving for social issues. So how do you solve for a huge mission like the Swachh Bharat mission, which requires treatment of sewage, treatment of water, delivery of renewable energy? These are huge missions for our country. And unless our MSMEs and the supply chain come into these spaces, we are not going to be able to really set these projects up or solve for the problems we need in the social spaces, I mean, education, etc. There's no end to it. And you are seeing, therefore, the delivery of startups coming up in those spaces. So I think the ambition to look at that environment out there, recognize the volatility for what it is, find the problem and solution, and then keep pivoting to ensure that you are not missing the bus as indeed the country evolves, because there is no standing still.
Absolutely. Feroze, coming to you, I want to talk about India's consumption story. India is known to be one of, the world's most powerful consumption engines. Where is the real opportunity in FMCG? And why I'm asking you this question is because India is very diversified. There's this urban versus rural, premium versus, value, kirana versus digital. So how are you tackling that at Rasna yourself?
The opportunity is huge, because if you see, even in the most, say, let us say snacks is the most proliferated, but still the per capita consumption is, say, lower than, say, in other countries. Soft drinks is probably 1/10. So I think we are still not talking of reaching, probably in my mind, even, say, 10% of the potential of a comparatively developed economy overall. And this is, I'm talking urban. Rural, to sky is the limit. So I honestly believe huge potential in FMCG. So in simple terms, if I have to put my money blindly, I will definitely put behind FMCG companies in the stock market, because I can't go wrong, because the consumption story there is going to stay. And it's also housing market, I'll put, if it's small, at least what I call low budget housing, because there's no doubt about it that more are going to be created. But I somehow believe that the big opportunity is not only in creating products in FMCG for this market alone, but we should look beyond urban markets and create products for the rural market. And my own company has probably gained from it. A lot of us design products for urban. We have started designing products for rural. And I think there is a difference. And I think the potential there is immense. We need to a little bit work harder on what you call logistics and the distribution chains in the rural. But once you get it, mind you, there is less competition. You make more money because you don't end up paying, say, 30 and 40% to one big retailer. And the small people get small margin, you make more money. So the logistic cost is offset by the bigger margins. That is one big opportunity. Second, I have seen recently the biggest opportunity for FMCG companies in the worldwide is Africa. And I have never understood. And sometimes I believe, like when I myself stand in the stalls in Gulf Food, we have typical buyers from Europe coming, and and you say, my God, ye kya bada order deke jayega? He ends up 1 container, 2 container. A buyer from Africa, possibly, he won't look also a buyer. He ends up giving a 10, 20 container order just like that. And do you think he has money? He has a lot of money lying in London and Paris, and the money comes from there. Advance, no LC, 50% advance, 20% advance. And I think huge opportunity. They want products. India can make those products in any and every category, be it biscuits, be it plastic, anything. Now the government is helping a lot with exports into Africa. There are a lot of schemes of the government. So my thing is, let us tap those schemes. And somehow or other I have seen that the rural India and the Africa, the product designing is also the same required. So possibly that is what I have found recently is a huge, big scope for us. And in the consumption story, last point I would like to make, which I have seen is, at least in food, there is a tactic shift in the urban markets to what I will not say health, but good for me. So your product has to have some product advantage, which is the customer will have. It can be either slightly low sugar, less salt, it can be anything to do with health, high protein. Customers are definitely looking at this product, and I am seeing a huge what I call inherent demand for these products from in the urban area. So this is also an area where on a very specific basis we are targeting, and we are becoming very successful in these areas also.
Right, fantastic. Mr. Hiranandani, I want to bring you in here. No discussion is complete without technology, and of course technology is impacting sectors across the board. Real estate is traditionally asset-driven. But today we are talking prop tech, today we are talking smart cities, we are seeing lands being, bought upon quick commerce platforms. I want to know how technology has really, reshaped the economics of real estate, or is it still cosmetic, according to you?
The both is true. The tradition still survives and will survive for quite some time because the country is very large and absorption of any new ideas and thoughts do take time to percolate down it. And there's also a price divide between the rural and urban, and the aspirations are growing. So the issue is, do we move up the value chain and to what extent we grow? Believe you me, I'm the most surprised of all. We have 45 years plus of experience, and I'm surprised that the demand from the middle class for better housing, luxury housing and amenities is beyond what I expected from them. So moving up the value chain is imperative, number one. Number two, technology, AI, we will have to imbibe. You have no choice, whether it is product management, design, marketing, tools in terms of various other aspects of every aspect of construction. It is going to be imperative this year, not even next year. It's going to be as fast as that. Those who are able to use technology will go faster. It's not that the other people won't, because when you go for hard assets, it's not necessary that the technology is going to give you that incremental advantage tomorrow morning. It takes time to actually give that incremental benefit to you, whether it's a cost advantage, speed advantage, or amenity advantage to the end customer. So those benefits are not perceptible immediately. So sometimes we have to invest into technology and expect that the benefit will come at the back end. But the other aspect of it is shocking, which is the kind of amenities which you want, the quality upgrade that you want, the size upgrade that you want, surprises me. So if I expected that a person would buy a one-bedroom, he'll only buy a two-bedroom. If I think he's going to buy a two-bedroom, he will buy only a three-bedroom. And he somehow stretches himself in order to do it by taking long-term loans. And banks and financial institutions are very supportive. Growth of lending in terms of retail home loans has grown last year by 15% plus. So real estate grew by 10, but retail home loan lending grew by 15%. So more people are borrowing long-term in order to buy better quality assets and higher prices. So all that changes are taking place extremely rapidly. So to summarize the whole story is that the middle class and the other categories which have moved out from the affordable segment, the demand in that segment has grown exponentially. Unfortunately, there's been another problem which we are not really flagging off, and that is affordable housing growth has been a negative of 20% in the last 2 years, which is shocking because we can't afford to do that. And we do need the bottom of the pyramid to be catered for. The Prime Minister's Awaaz Yojana is trying to fill in that gap to some extent, but because of land prices going up and all the other costs, including government charges having grown up, that segment has had a setback. We cannot afford that. So while the overall industry growth is good, AI, technology in all segments will grow, I'm a little worried about that segment, and we will have to address that issue both at the government level and the private sector. Will have to identify solutions for it. Government of Maharashtra is doing it in terms of the redevelopment of slums, redevelopment of old buildings, etc., etc. Not enough. We need to do more.
Sure. Another topic I want to come to you now, Ms. Nana. So over 24,000 women-led MSMEs shut shops over the last 5 years. I want to know from you, what is the real picture there? What's going on there? Is it still an uphill battle for women founders to raise capital, fundraise? What is your take on that?
So I don't think we should just look at the women-led businesses that have shut without looking at the men-led businesses that have shut. The nature of startups is that businesses will shut, and hopefully those entrepreneurs go out and reopen businesses. Is it tougher for women vis-a-vis men out there? The sad truth is yes. I hear this from many that come in terms of them having to defend their case stronger, and also access to banking in terms of being able to persuade and convince the bankers more. And of course, it shouldn't be. It should be an equal field. The good news is that it has certainly come a long way from where it was. And if you look around you and the success of the Mama Earths, the Nykas, MobiKwik, you name it, they're out there where you could count the entrepreneurs, the women entrepreneurs on your fingertips even a decade ago. So it has changed. And I do think women have to jump through more hoops, but those that get there, and it's probably not a bad discipline for them, have a stronger chance of succeeding because they've had to prove their merit that much stronger. And we see success, whether it's in technology or FMCG or in any of those fields. I just also want to add to the point that Niranjan made, and you asked the question of technology, but I think we don't have to look very hard just at technology. There are many solutions that are requiring entry of MSMEs which exist around the world. I'm on the board of the largest global building products company, Holcim. And one of their biggest products is using reconstruction waste. 30% of the cement they make uses reconstruction waste. The whole business of reconstruction waste, which we are otherwise chucking into landfills, which we're filling up and making mountains of, is actually raw material for building. Now, where are our MSMEs? And it is an MSME business globally that collects this reconstruction waste, hammer it into a shape that can be used as raw material, replacing expensive limestone quarries that are so environment unfriendly with what is really circular material. So I think there are solutions out there which are not requiring ISRO and space scientists. It's not requiring technology. It's really filling gaps that exist. The same would apply for buildings as we build them. Energy is of such a high cost in our country. Anything that saves energy with products that we use which provide better insulation, just the nature of cement which may be more porous, may have more waterproofing, may have more holes which provide insulation. So really rethinking everything we do, and the solutions exist somewhere in the world. Let's bring them here, apply them here, and make a business of it, particularly when it feeds into such exciting sectors like real estate. So we have a lot to do here, and these ideas are not necessarily sitting out in outer space. They're right under our noses, but we're missing that opportunity. And I think it's a very exciting world out there for MSMEs to address these gaps and come in and fill what are supply chains, products, and delivery therein.
Very nice. Piruz, I want to come to you. So when we speak about, the FMCG space, right, we have like quick commerce, we have a new D2C brand popping up, every other day. I want to know, what should legacy brands look at? Like, how should legacy brands look at this? What is their USP? Is it trust?
First, I am not a legacy brand. I am a startup only. The day you start thinking that you are legacy and you are done, you are gone. It is like the superstar. He thinks I am superstar. The second day he all starts all the flops. Every day for a star, he has to make a new film. He has to reinvent himself. Honestly, I'm telling you. And you see the career of the superstars, and you will know. You see it Hollywood or Bollywood. So I honestly believe every year for Rasna is a new year. Every year we come out with a new range of products, and we are as good as any of these names you have said. Coming to the e-com brands, let me be very straight with you. They are there because some bankers are foolish to fund them. Some of them, I'm straight away telling you, because they come to me, because when they are not successful, they want to sell off and they come to me. And then I see that the debt they have taken is more than their turnover generally. And those people have been funding them, and those promoters have taken the money off somewhere else. So I honestly believe that those D2C brands are not what I call in real terms have added any value to themselves or their companies. And they are like, that's why they also either they sell off to some big brand who sees some value in the brand, or they don't exist. Many of them are stopped. And I somehow believe that companies like us, and many of us, and that is probably in my mind I should be saying is the most important thing, that we are not here for 1 year, 2 years, 10 years. We are here for generations as businessmen. So whatever we do, we have to add such a value that we stay for generations. And for us, profitable business and ensuring a decent return on capital to whoever a shareholder is, it may be a family member, is more important than just coming out with something in a D2C brand and all. So my urge is that please don't say that we are competing with them. We are also equally agile. We are also doing the same things they are doing online. We are also encouraging. But we are, in my mind, I would say, I am not legacy brand, but I am definitely a responsible brand to ensure that I don't lose such money for me, myself, or my shareholders. I think that is more important and relevant.
Fantastic. Nana, I want to come to you now. When we speak of sustainability, especially for MSMEs, they often look at it as a cost center than, a profit driver. And we're going to be having a climate panel discussion as well, shortly. But from your aspect, can you tell us, is it really adding to their valuation, or is it just largely narrative, according to you?
Well, it really depends on which industry you're in. But I really believe sustainability is an opportunity for those that have got it right. If you look at the way ESG norms are moving ahead and the disclosures that are being required from companies, that companies are having to show through Scope 2, Scope 3, that their supply chains also adhere to the sustainability practices that they profess to be upholding as part of their best practice. Not just best practice, it's required practice now in many cases. So the MSME that sees the opportunity of being able to demonstrate that they are doing things right, whether it's human rights on one side, or energy efficiency, or indeed the way they are dealing with waste and water, or every aspect of effluent, that supply chain then becomes a very critical part of the way the MSME feeds up into the company that's buying from it. And there are companies, very big companies. I remember seeing this presentation from a Birla Group company in the business of rayon. Rayon comes from forests. How can they prove that they are not indeed pulling down forests in the provision of the rayon? So they found a superb technical solution where they embedded the chip right from start to end, so they could prove to the Zaras and H&Ms of the world that their yarn was, and they have it a name. In fact, I believe these global companies actually say made from e-live yarn. So it became a USP, an opportunity for the company to demonstrate that they had this product which was entirely sustainable, for which these big companies were prepared to pay a premium just to be able to declare that their product was organic. So that's the opportunity as well. So not to just look at it as an obstacle, but an opportunity. But I do think that as a country, we can make it easier. I'm a firm believer, and if we can get industry clusters together where there's shared infrastructure, the shared renewable energy supply, the shared wastewater treatment supply, the shared sewage treatment, that you then just bill the company on a per unit cost, where they don't have to put up the capital cost of dealing with it. We can certainly make it easier as well, for where the cost becomes somewhat inhibitive and a bit of an obstacle for certain industries.
Sure. Mr. Hiranandani, I want to speak about policy. I want to ask you about your take on the kind of policies that are being implemented. The budget this year, they emphasized a lot on infrastructure, manufacturing, and real estate, as I understand, is a direct beneficiary of, infrastructure and urban development. But, are there still certain structural bottlenecks that entrepreneurs in this space don't talk about enough?
I'll take that thing which Naina talked about, the question that you had on sustainability for a minute.
Yes, sure.
We built 2 buildings 20 years ago, commercial buildings, platinum-rated green buildings, and it cost me 12% more than my regular cost. The names of the building is BG House and Crystal, 2 buildings. And we were reluctant, why should we spend more? And we did. In 3.5 years, we recovered the cost of additional cost in 3.5 years by just saving on energy, and all the rest of the benefits were plus, and it is a profitable building rather than a cost. So first of all, it's not expensive.
Okay.
Waste to energy, waste to recycling, those are again advantages that we can really get. The third point on that is, can we afford an environment like you get to Delhi and you're not able to get down and not cough? I mean, this is ridiculous. So I think that part of sustainability is imperative. We can't even think of it. Whatever it costs, we need to actually rectify in terms of whatever it is. Sorry, my question, I'm sorry.
Yes, about the policy. Do you believe that there is something which people are not talking about?
Yes. Real estate is a state subject. So we have the central government regulations and we have each state and we have local bodies which really actually govern it. So on the policy level, a large number of changes have taken place. At the state level, a lot of changes have taken place. At the grassroots level, also a lot of changes. So ease of doing business has improved. But it's not improved so much as to make a perceptible change. It's still inefficient, it is still costly, and in some places also corrupt. So we have a long way to go before we can say that the ease of doing business in the real estate field has actually had a paradigm happen, but I can't say it has not improved, because it has. So we do see perceptible improvements at every possible level that we are going to do it. But if we can improve it further, we can bring down the cost even further. So you will see cost effectiveness take place as ease of doing business is improved in our country and all that. The number of bottlenecks that you have is actually system driven rather than actual problems. So you reduce the number of tables or you put things online, but there are people in impediments that come up. So individuals could be notorious, bad, or good. So you do get all the three. So that's the problem. But having said this, I think things have improved a lot, and I think they are on the way. The intent at the highest level is definitely there, but it has to percolate to the bottom to have an effective control where we can really make that world of a difference. There's one more thing that I need to flag out. I think planning authorities at the city level and the state level have no coordination. So while individual policies are fantastic, we don't get the coordination taking place. I'll give you one example in Mumbai. We are doing 300 kilometers of metro. Done very fast. Nobody thought they would be completed so quickly. But you get down from the metro station, there's no possibility of a or a rickshaw or anything, or even a footpath in some of the cases to actually walk through. So we lack that total holistic coordination. I'm just giving you one example, but there are many which can take place. And if we can really focus on holistic coordination of policies and get them implemented together, the growth could be speeded up at least 2x in order to get and percolate the benefits of it. But again, don't get me wrong, lots of improvement have taken place.
Fantastic. Well, this was a fantastic panel discussion. Lots of insights to take away. Thank you so much for being on ET Now Leaders of Tomorrow. Thank you so much, panelists. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you, Ritvika, for that amazing panel, and of course, Mr. Khambata, Ms. Kidbai, and Dr. Hiranandani for that. So I hope you guys have been sharing these insights on social media. The hashtag is LOTS13 Awards. My favorite takeaway from here was when Mr. Khambata said that Rasna is not a legacy brand and he thinks of it still as a startup. Sir, hats off for that. Because, I mean, a show of hands, ladies and gentlemen, brands like Rasna, brands like a specific turmeric cream, like a soap powder, which we have heard of those ads from childhood. I mean, those are the ads. You can't read those lines anymore. You're already saying it or singing it along with those jingles in that. Now, as we celebrate entrepreneurship today, it is essential to acknowledge the industry leaders whose expertise, time, and insights have been instrumental in the entire process. And as a token of our heartfelt appreciation, we'd like to felicitate some of our grand jury members who are present here with us today in the room. For the felicitation, first, to felicitate the jury members, I'd like to call upon stage, first up, the CEO of Times Television Network and Chief Growth Officer, Times Group Media and Entertainment, Mr. Ashish Sehgal. And along with him, if we could have the Head Retail Liabilities, IDFC FIRST Bank, Mr. Ashish Singh also, to join Mr. Sehgal here up on stage to felicitate the jury. So, ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for our jury members. First up, Chairman, Rasna International, Mr. Piruz Khambata. Sir, can we have you up on stage again, sir? Let's keep that applause going, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Khambata, may I request you to please stay on. Next up, I'd like to invite the former CEO, NSDC, and Senior Fellow Chair in US-India Policy Studies, CSIS, Mr. Jayant Krishna. Let's keep that applause going, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, I'd like to invite on stage Executive Director, Maruti Suzuki India, Mr. Shashank Srivastava. Next up, President, Chamber for Advancement of Small and Medium Businesses, Mr. Nilesh Satish Lele. Startup Mentor and SME Advisor, Mr. Prashant S. Naigaonkar. The Chairman of InSpace, Department of Space, Government of India, and Chairman, Scale DP IIT, Government of India, Dr. Pawan Goenka. And the Chair of Rothschild & Co. India and India Sanitation Coalition, Naina Lal Kidwai. I think they've both left, but huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for the jury. Please, can we have a group photo op with everyone? Just, please all. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, let's keep the conversations going. You know, at Leaders of Tomorrow, we've always believed in spotlighting young entrepreneurs who are shaping the future. And tonight is no different. Our next conversation is themed The Making of a Young AI Founder. It perfectly captures the spirit of ambition without age limits. At just 15 years of age, he isn't waiting for the future to happen. He's building it. He is the founder and CTO of AI Realm Technologies, and he's already making remarkable strides in the world of artificial intelligence. So it's definitely with our theme of agility, ambition, and ascent. Ladies and gentlemen, to lead this conversation, I'd like to welcome back on stage Ritvika Gupta. And please put your hands together for her speaker, who is the founder and CTO of AI Realm Technologies, Rahul John Aju.
Thanks, Sumit. And good evening, everyone, again, and a very warm welcome to you, Rahul. So, ladies and gentlemen, for those who are not aware, this young chap who's sitting next to me, he built his first humanoid robot at the age of 12. Now, I don't know what I was doing at the age of 12, definitely not building robots, but that's my first question to you, Rahul. Tell me, what were you chasing at that time? Was it just curiosity that led you to, develop your interest in AI, technology, androids? Tell me.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much for inviting me here. It means a lot. And about building the humanoid robot, to be honest, I just built it. So I used to take sessions for kids and schools in US online. So what happened was my father wanted me to sleep by 12 o'clock in the night. Obviously, I have to, right? But next day I have school. But their schools start in the morning. Because of the time zone difference, I was like, once I finish teaching them, there needs to be something to answer their doubts. So I created a clone of me, but as a game, through Unreal Engine, through APIs.
You created a clone of yourself?
Yes. So it was as a game first. And then in my school, I saw there was a kid who made a robot. Okay, so when you say hi, it replies hi back. Like, those Tom, the cat games and all that you see online. So pretty much what you say back, it replies back. So I thought, why not take the brain which I made, a clone of me that talks in my voice, that moves like me, that game, and put it inside a body. So I will have a robot, right? So this is around 3-4 years back. So the main reason I made this robot is so that my life becomes easier, so I don't have to be too lazy.
I wish I could make a clone of myself as well. But honestly, tell me, when did AI stop becoming a hobby, and started becoming something more serious? What led you to, found, AI realm technologies? What was the inspiration behind it?
So I was not all the time interested in AI. Fun fact, I used to do classical dance. I used to run marathons. I used to do everything and whatever I could also to skip class. To write poem writing, all competitions. I used to sign up for everything. But then there was a point where running, I used to be I met Sachin Tendulkar. I met a lot of people, PT Usha, because I was very serious in running. Then I went to classical dance, got second place in state. Then I was like, okay, yeah, I'm just trying to do everything. But then I discovered the technology of during that time through content creation. Plus, what is happening there? So I put an iOS software in my Android, put the latest version, routing it, coding it. So I was like, okay, that is the latest technology. I learned video editing. I learned the peak of what is the current technology. But I was like, what is coming next? So I wanted to figure out a way to edit videos way faster than normally it happens. So it took me 2 months to edit one videos because I have school and a lot of things. So I was like, I went to Google like anyone else. I was like, how do I edit videos faster? So I found a tool that edits that video that normally takes 2 months in 2 days. I was like, how is it doing whatever I do?
Can you tell me what that is? Because we also need to edit our videos faster.
Sure. The tool name is Firecut. You can just upload your video, captions, editing, everything is done. But that is the point when I discovered that AI, there is something known as AI or something that does things for you way quicker. That is when I got in the world of AI. Then there is this app Clubhouse. It's a social audio platform where you can talk to people around the world. So I was able to connect with people from NASA and a lot of other people, gain knowledge specifically about AI other than things from like YouTube and all. So I was able to self-learn most of it. But yeah, as time went on, events like this, I was able to socialize and learn way, way more. And yeah, that's how I have my company now where I've hired my father.
So tell me something, as a young founder building AI, in India, how do you feel about this space? Do you think young founders in India, they have access to the tools, compute, mentorship, especially when you compare them to the global counterparts?
Sure. Okay. So I say this everywhere, okay? India should not join the AI race. It should not, but rather create its own race. The reason I believe is we have our own problems. We should not try to create the next image generator. Everyone agree to that? Right? Not the next ChatGPT. We can try to create something way different. Like, for example, farmers, right? Right now, most of our country's workforce are farmers. And we have already built tools for them. For example, right now, the most problem with farmers is that they have to do a lot of guesswork. Like how much fertilizers they use, how much place do we put fertilizers on, how much water do we use. So there was a company named FIRST in India that created a tool in Bangalore, by the way. So that tells them how much fertilizers to use and where to put fertilizers. And it saved more than 50% water and reduced 57% chemicals. So, but the problem with that is only 12,000 farmers started using it, which is a good number. But we can increase it, right? The accessibility is the issue. Number of people that are, basically it costs $53 to around $300. Not everyone can afford that. I believe we should focus on problems like those, increase accessibility, innovate on those. R&D should work on those, right? Rather than just trying to create the next LLM, right? We have our own problems. Like if you take our defense sector, we are actually leading in a lot of places in AI there. We literally have drones talking to each other, protecting us in our borders right now. Right now, if we know our situation, what's happening in the rest of the world, literally there are drones talking to each other, protecting us because we have a long borders from Pakistan to China. So it's actually protecting us. Drones, AI drones are surveying and protecting us, guys. And we've even created our own ChatGPT for army. So we are actually pioneering in a lot of places. I believe more people should know about it. But I believe we should focus on solving real problems and create our own race where others will join rather than just trying to go behind someone else.
Now, Rahul, you built something called Justice, Nyay Sathi, and for those who are not aware, Justice is a play on the word justice, and legal AI can be a very complex space to be in. Why do you choose to, deep dive into legal AI, and how did you think so commercially, from a very young age?
That's an awesome question. So one of the tools which I built, how many here people know what is BNS section 303? I suppose no one. Even I didn't know. Okay. But it's our fundamental right and duty to know the basic of our Indian constitution and the basic laws. Everyone agrees that if we know our laws, then we'll be much more empowered, right?
Of course.
And that is the idea behind why I created Rescue. So right now, imagine this. You have your phone, right? Imagine you suddenly were looking for it and you couldn't find it. You might go to the police station, or you might even go to, use Find My Phone. And there are things you might do during that situation. But there are other things that you might not think of, like telling the right IMEI number, or trying to locate the phone through that, blocking your IMEI number, or looking for CCTV cameras. So this AI will specifically tell you what to do in an emergency situation, because the first 60 seconds in an emergency situation matters a lot. And it will even tell you the right law based on it. So BNS section 303. And just like Uber, like an aggregator, we connect you to a lawyer. Because finding good lawyers is a very hard thing in our country. So we connect you to a lawyer. And for lawyers, because we are not trying to take lawyer's job, any lawyers, please, I'm not. But what we do is, once we connect you to a lawyer, for lawyers, based on millions of trained cases which we have, it tells them exactly similar cases to a case which they might have, sections that they can use, and how they can win a case, and strategies, sections. So their research, which normally takes 1-2 weeks, can be done literally in 2 hours with the help of the same AI. From drafting contracts to, how many people read terms and conditions of a tool before they use? Does anyone read the terms and conditions of Google?
They should.
We should, but no one does. Even I don't. 24-page, who's going to read? So even in this, you can upload contracts from rental agreements to terms and conditions, and it will tell the right clauses and all. So a complete legal tool, which you are even planning to go to courts and stuff. But the reason I created is basically for this, to empower people with the basic laws.
A 16-year-old your age, they would be consuming content across platforms. You are building those platforms. Tell me, where does that creator mindset come from?
Okay, so starting with, right now I'm an entrepreneur, right? I create content, but like create AI tools, have my own company. But way before when I started, when I say exploring, my father always told me to start, I'm promoting my father a lot, but basically to critically think, ask questions. I think that is the point when I kind of started like, okay, Rahul, think about this, how can you solve this problem, right? It was not just when AI came. So during that time, I started content creation. I started by recording inside the bathroom and just showing off my toys. That's how I started at the age of 4. 2013 is when I started my channel. And after that point of time, slowly from creating content to creating videos, I moved on to starting to create like editing videos, starting to, this running and all these things. But then I started to create my own company and my own tools. I saw that I can also try to do an impact, right? Age should not be a barrier. Like, fun fact. So when I went to this program GITEX, which happens in Dubai, and when I was entering, I was called by Oracle to speak there. So, but last moment they couldn't. But more or less, when I was entering, they were like, he's a baby, he can't enter to this, like inside this, inside the stadium to even speak or just enter. And fun fact, that happened here also. They were like, he's a kid, he's not allowed. I'm like, okay. But what I'm trying to say is that I wanted to change that mindset, right? I can also know about technically creating tools. I can also become a founder. I can also raise funds for a company. I can also know how to create content. I can know branding. I can know marketing. I can know the basics of things. Age is not a barrier. Even if you're about to be 70, don't think you're going to retire. You can still live. Even if you're 6-year-old or 16, I'm giving advice to all the people, but that's not what I'm trying to do. But what I'm trying to say is, no matter what your age, you can do anything and everything. That's what I'm trying to convey.
That's very inspiring. Now, Rahul, you have also famously hired your own father. Mr. Joseph is also in the audience with us. And that's very interesting because it flips the traditional dynamic. Our show is called Leaders of Tomorrow. Tell me, what have you learned about leadership at such a young age?
Well, okay. So one thing about me is that it was kind of a marketing thing when I said that I hired my father. But more or less, why we work together is, I can't ever get the experience that he has through the knowledge, through my phone. Yes, I can gain a lot of knowledge, but never that experience. That is why I thought of just giving him some few salary, few money and just working for meals. But more or less, but he has worked in Adobe, he has worked in IBM, he has worked in Amazon, full marketing, okay? But he has worked in a lot of places. Because of that, I was like, okay, so I should give an opportunity to him as well, right? So because of that is that so most of the failures which he has gone through, I can learn from them and in the future maybe become better, right? So I don't want to do the same failures, but rather learn from it. So that is the main reason that we work together with the rest of the people. But about leadership, what I feel is, see, take any people, like even Elon Musk. Mainly what they do is that they might not know in depth about, how a rocket works, how a Tesla works, but they know what's exactly this problem. Let's say Tesla, the problem was battery. SpaceX, the rocket was a lot of, reusing things and all. But what the point I'm coming to is, leaders' work, I feel, is to remove the friction between different people that are working under them. So you have this problem, okay, I'll solve it. Like, let's say Elon Musk, okay, you have a GPU problem, I'll solve it, I'll call them. You want to be connected to them? Okay, I'll do that. I feel the leader's problem is to incentivize people to do a project or to do their best, plus also to kind of, connecting them and making them do their work even better. So I feel that's what leaders are supposed to do.
So tell me, Rahul, a lot of people, not just entrepreneurs, but even leaders, they feel like AI is going to take up their jobs. AI is going to take up a lot of our day-to-day functions. What is your take on that? Do we need to fear AI or do we need to work with AI? How does it work,
Well, okay, how many people here think AI is going to take their jobs? Okay, I don't think a lot of people here think that, by the way. But my perspective is, see, when computers came, everyone was like, okay, I was not born then. This is all based on what my father told me. But during that time, everyone was like, it's going to take our jobs. It's going to do this. It's going to do. Everyone is scared, right? And yes, it took a lot of jobs. Again, based on what my father told me. Typewriter jobs, this job. But then, biggest companies in the world right now, Google, Amazon, all these big companies are because of what? Computers. Right? Apple, all these are what? Macintosh, all these came because of computers. So I believe AI will take a lot of jobs. But just like before, we are going to get a lot of jobs back. If you look at the industrialization, revolution and all the things I'm saying from a textbook, but anything that you see from before, history repeats itself a lot of times. And I believe the same is happening here. Just look at the internet, okay? If there were 5 people using the internet, would we need something like a Google? Would we? No, right? Because more people start adopting the internet, we need something to search the internet. That's when we needed Google. I believe the same thing needs now, right? As more people starts adopting AI, the job opportunities will automatically start to appear. So we don't have to worry about it.
That's very positive. Tell me, for someone who wants to build something in AI, maybe someone who is maybe not as young as you are, but, because our show is watched by a lot of entrepreneurs, aspiring entrepreneurs, what should they keep in mind? Like a checklist probably they should keep in mind in terms of technicalities. What's your take on that?
Okay, so there are 4 things, okay? One, bare truth is that having an AI company is not as profitable as having a normal SaaS company. Everyone thinks AI is the next big thing, let's get into it. It's not, right? Normally SaaS companies have software as a service, Canva, Netflix, all those. They have, every time a new user starts using them, it's like they have cost of less than 0 rupees, right? 0% is their cost when a new user starts using their product, like Netflix and all. And their profit margin is how much? Around 70 to 90%. Now let's come to AI. If you have an AI company, the profit margin is 30 to 60%. So don't think, AI is something crazy. Don't get into it thinking now it's a money-making machine. No. Frankly speaking, that's not going to happen, according to me. Because if we again rewind back time when I was not even born, to the time of Amazon and Google, they were also .com. But why didn't they burst during the .com bubble? Because they were not just spread.com or just a normal .com. They did something new, right? Google found a way to search things online. Amazon started the e-commerce, right? Getting books to your houses. That's how they started. They did something new, right? So if you're having an AI company, you have to do something new. And there are 3 things you should follow. One is, according to me, by the way, is solve real boring problems. That's what I'm trying to do with law. Right? Second thing which I would say is AI should not be the product, it should be a feature. Right? If you're focused on, okay, it's an AI, so I'll do it as AI, it doesn't matter. It should just be one of the features. Right? Don't just create an AI company just for the sake of it being AI. You can use AI for your products, so it will be better. Take YouTube. It is machine learning algorithms behind guessing what you would like to watch. Right? So AI is already being used in a lot of places. So you have to think creatively on how it can be applied, not just a chatbot because it's a chatbot. Right? So I feel few things like this, even branding, all these things matter if you're having a good company. Right? Now, my perspective on having an AI company are basically these 3 things. Right? If you're doing it, find a real problem. And it will be harder. You won't earn a lot of money. Don't keep that in mind. But once you do achieve it, you'll be solving a real problem. So that's what matters.
I didn't want this conversation to get very technical, but since we're talking about technology, what was that one technical complication, and if I may say, that you perhaps encountered while building practical AI, and how did you solve it?
Well, I'm in the technical world, so I'll have technical problems every single day. But if I had to choose, okay, that's a hard question. What is one technical issue? Okay, see, in the world of having, using technology, there'll be a lot of problems. But when I started creating these AI tools to figure out rescue even, it took me 3 years for the Nyaya Satya or Rescue of Justice. Final name, the Project 47X is the code name, but it took me 3 years to figure out how not to make it hallucinate, how to get the accuracy to 87%. We are one of the most accurate AI models. So all these things took me 3 years. It was not just one day getting up, okay, done, right? I had to do a lot of research to learn fine-tuning, do this, do a research. But when I talk about problems, next day, let's say I take this law model and I make it public. I don't want it to be like, okay, Rahul, in the biggest, legal domain, you screwed up. Because I'm playing with lives, right? I can't make something wrong with the law. So I don't want problems like that to happen. But in the technical landscape, a lot of problems have been there. For example, this rescue. To launch it, we have been looking for servers, right? Hardware is kind of the main issue. And we are looking for investments and servers to fund this as well. And I think that is one of the leading problems because servers are very expensive and figuring that out. Most people get like around 3 lakh credits also from Amazon and Google, which we kind of didn't. So we were looking for other ways to get servers. And me being judged as a kid doesn't help. Right. So yeah, there are a lot of things like that, but I feel more of the hardware side is a problem because in the age of AI, you can build anything by just typing, right? But that security side and this hardware side is where the limitation is.
Well, Rahul, I think what you're doing is absolutely inspiring and impeccable. Ladies and gentlemen, I think he deserves a round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rahul, for your time. I wish we could continue this conversation longer, but we're completely out of time. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for that, Rahul and Ritvika. Those were some very interesting insights from him. Well, it is the world of AI, so it's always great for all of us to learn more about how an AI business works, what's happening behind the scenes. And it's always great to see young talent, young entrepreneurs setting the stage on fire, setting what they're doing is truly commendable. At the start of the evening, I had spoken about how we're going to be talking about AI, climate, and policy. We spoke about AI. Earlier, we spoke about policy. It's now time to have a very deep, insightful session on climate. So we're going to turn to the force that is rapidly reshaping the economics of business, which is climate. Now, climate is the new cost curve, a conversation on how businesses can convert sustainability, efficiency, and transition readiness into a strategic advantage. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd first like to call up on stage the moderator, special correspondent with Times Network, Pooja Jain, to moderate the conversation. Pooja, can we have you on stage? And I'd now like to invite up on stage her esteemed panelists. We have environmentalist Sumaira Abdul Ali. We have the founder of Dhun Suryagarh Collection, Manvendra Singh Shekhawat, and the Director General Coalition for Disaster Resilient Infrastructure, Amit Prothi. Ladies and gentlemen, keep that applause going and do remember to share your thoughts and suggestions on social media using the hashtag LOTS13 Awards.
Thank you so much, Sumit, for setting that context. And before we do a deep dive into this especially critical conversation, I in advance want to congratulate all of the winners and nominees present in the audience tonight. Whether you walk away with the trophy or not, you've earned your right to be here, and a huge round of applause is deeply deserved. Let's hear it, ladies and gentlemen, for our winners that are soon about to be unveiled. All right, and I'm very kicked to join the stage with and share this space with industry experts around a conversation that is, if I can say so myself, oftentimes misunderstood. All right? And there are two paradoxes to my mind, and please let me know if you share the same sentiment when it comes to the small business community and climate. The first being that while the small business community is responsible for upwards of 45% of manufacturing output in this country, depending on what figures you believe, its carbon footprint, or it's responsible for less than 5% of the nation's emissions. I think that's the first very staggering statistic. And the second is that while the MSME community is particularly vulnerable to climate change, it's in many cases low on their priority list, if at all. So given the complexities of the current situation, it's only fair that we do a deep dive around the topic. Unfortunately, I'm joined by a power-packed panel of domain experts to help me do just that. So, Sumaira, if I could kick off the conversation with you. Experts seem to believe that if our adaptation around climate change is inadequate, let's just call it that for lack of a better word, then India's GDP stands to drop by as much as 10 to 15%. You know, how much truth is there to that statement? And why is it that in spite of that, the small business community does more or less not look at climate action as a top priority or a core survival metric, if you will? Here we can do this one.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
That's one.
Thank you so much for inviting me and for listening to what I have to say. It's a very interesting question because most MSMEs are just struggling to survive, you know.
Exactly.
They are doing what they have to do. They don't have that much money. They don't have that much support. And they are given these ideological goals that you should do this and you should do that. But the question really is how. And it comes down to what we as consumers are willing to pay for the goods that they give us and they manufacture that we rely on. It depends on what kind of support they get from governments, and it depends on the environment surrounding them, what other MSMEs are doing. So when you have a situation where basically we want the cheapest of everything at all times, and government policy, which is great on paper, does not enforce those laws on the ground, then you have a situation where everybody is trying to find the loopholes. And those loopholes are what are killing not only the MSMEs themselves, because they're creating very difficult situations in which to work, whether it's the effect of climate events like floods and heat waves and other things which reduce the productivity of those MSMEs, or it's the fact that all of us live in this city of Mumbai where we are choking ourselves to death, so to speak. So I'll just leave it there for now, and I'm sure we'll have...
No, thank you. And Smera, thank you for adding that color and that candor to the conversation. That's exactly, you know, what we want to hear, the honest opinions and the on-ground realities. And, you know, I'll speak to you now, Manvendra, about climate compliance, because it's such a delicate dance between the compliance and cost equation, right? And MSMEs are in a particularly vulnerable position because they run the risks of infrastructure damage, they run the risk of supply chains coming to a grinding halt, market fluctuations, regulatory uncertainties, and this is just scratching the surface, right? So for MSMEs and our audience that may find themselves in this exact position, how might you guide them? What's the first tangible step that they can take today?
As Madam mentioned, for me, I think it is almost blasphemous to even expect most people who are struggling to solve for today to think about tomorrow, and all of these things I would that they are in that realm. And yet, as you mentioned, that they are the most vulnerable to all impacts. I mean, think about Chennai floods, 10,000 organizations, 50,000 people lost their livelihoods, and this is not an isolated case. So I think that till the consumer really understands that the value proposition is far beyond the immediate product that they are buying, and it is the cheapest thing that they want to pursue, this change sadly will not happen. The MSMEs will not have any incentive to do that. They are really operate on very razor-thin margins. It is for the government and the policymakers and the people who really wield the paintbrush on the canvas, when they see on a macro systemic level the impact it would have on a country level or a state level, that is the only way I think that it can change, in my opinion. And when you think about climate as an externality, which is, I suppose, the predominant notion, it is not that. Climate is a cost curve. Climate is supply chain risk. Climate is working capital risk. Climate is insurance risk. And if you don't price that risk properly, then we are setting up ourselves for failure. And to expect the MSMEs should start thinking about this it will not happen. They're too busy solving for today.
I think that also paints a reasonable picture of the on-ground reality. And a critical point that you just made, Manvendra, is that incentivization structures are simply not aligned. But coming to you now, Amit, one scenario in which incentivization structures are perhaps better aligned is in the case of ESG reporting, right? Or if you have global supply chains increasingly demanding carbon compliance. So all of a sudden, then to have export competitiveness, one needs to inherently, naturally monitor their carbon footprint, right? That's a step in the right direction, but is it the solution?
So I think I will not take that question because I work more on the adaptation side. And I thought let's take this opportunity to talk about, you talked about extreme heat, you talked about floods. And if you're an SMSME today, if you're in Delhi and you order on Zomato on a day when it's raining, your delivery doesn't come because the drivers are not driving. If you see what happens when there's a cyclone that comes through, the impact is mostly felt on the SMSE. Sorry, I've actually picked up a cold on the way from Delhi. Somebody was making a joke about Delhi and the bad weather. I've actually picked it up. SMSEs are at the forefront of losing livelihoods because of climatic conditions that are getting exacerbated. What I'm trying to do, so I'm actually sitting in a position where trying to convince governments. So I lead an international organization that has been established by the government of India. It's a coalition of now 65 members, including 53 countries, saying how do we shift the focus on building our infrastructure in a way which is the backbone for making sure disruption of services doesn't happen, which actually then leads to loss of businesses. How do you actually do that in a way which is understood at the global level? Cost of damage. Right. So, what we talk about is we've done a lot of research now. Every year, $800 billion is lost. Just direct damage to infrastructure. And then the economic cost of that, all of the livelihoods lost, adds up to about 7 times that number. That's the number we start to use to then have conversations with government and other actors to say why you need to prioritize understanding your risk. Start looking at your past to see how many times you had to stop your business because there was a flood.
Exactly.
Right? So metrics becomes incredibly important. Data becomes incredibly important. I'm not talking from the carbon side. I'm talking about from the disruption side to say disruption is also an argument, and then it becomes an opportunity. Because if you're today an SMS in that sector which is getting, the supply chains are getting affected, and you can figure out that if my supplier needs something and everybody's lost right now because of a flood, can I be the one who can actually take that as an opportunity to make sure that my supplier gets what I want? Right? So it's actually also an opportunity which is really now emerging quite quickly on the adaptation side, and I can talk more in a minute about that.
No, absolutely. Thank you for setting that context. And you brought up infrastructure, and I'll come to you now, Sumaira, because it's perhaps an unprecedented moment in India's infrastructure growth story, given the scale and the pace of infrastructure development. We just heard Mr. Hiranandani talk about how the number of airports in this country is expected to double over the next 5 years. And we have got a 200-kilometer metro network, or rather suburban railway network in this country that's being supplemented with a 300-kilometer metro network, right? So that said, how can this so-called, climate resilience be built into that moment, And then I'm going to come to you with my follow-up question, Manendra, basis Sumaira's response.
Well, I agree with Mr. Hiranandani that we are facing a great crossroads, an opportunity as well as a crisis. And maybe opportunities come out of crises always. So we want to catch up with the world. We want to build infrastructure which is world-class, but we don't want to spend the money to create the infrastructure and the construction methods which are world-class.
Right.
And this is why we are all suffering, because what we want is aspirational. In the future, 40 years from now, when many of us may or may not be here to see the results, but hopefully our children will. But we forget that the mess that we create on the way by overbuilding too quickly without any safeguards is what is going to lead our children on perhaps on that path we want and perhaps on a completely different path, because we are already suffering the health effects of those things. So while yes, building is great, GDP growth is great, I think we have the opportunity of learning from the mistakes of the West. You know, when they created the climate crisis by building very fast and using technologies they couldn't control, they did not understand the effects of it. Today we have the great opportunity that we do understand the effects that it's going to have. We are facing it already. We are going faster and faster into it. And India, having the brilliant young people, the young minds that we do, have the capability of figuring out new ways of developing which do not repeat the mistakes of the West. Unfortunately, we are squandering that opportunity at a very quick pace because we are again and again making excuses for why we have to follow the West and do what they did. We don't have that time anymore to waste. We need to build and show the world real leadership in building in a way which will not have these problems, and that will not only help our infrastructure to grow in a much cleaner way so we don't have to spend huge sums of money in reversing the problems we are creating, but will help at the grassroots, those MSMEs, those villages which are suffering today the effects of the way we are building and using their resources to build cities, which is directly affecting them today in the hope of a greener future many decades in the future, which we know nothing about today.
Well, Sumaira, thank you for sharing that. And one final question. I will have to unfortunately cut this conversation a bit short because our chief guest is now amongst us, but I'll come to you, sir. And say we nail climate resilience. The small business community nails, climate resilience essentially. How does India stand to benefit? And say we don't. What are the consequences we're ultimately facing?
I think I completely agree with what Madam said, that we know that we need 100 million homes in the next 10 years.
Right.
If we build exactly the same way of building homes, growing food, making sure that we have certainty of water, exactly with the same playbook that has been used thus far, it is going to lead a climate crisis, but more importantly, a human crisis of a proportion that we have not imagined, not only for us, but for the world. And if we do this right, then it is the greatest economic opportunity that is out there. The argument is very simple, is that today, with fusing ancestral intelligence, nature's intelligence, and artificial intelligence or augmented intelligence, we can make regeneration as logical, as scalable, and as profitable as extraction was in the industrial age.
Phenomenal. That makes for a wonderful note upon which to close. It's a much longer conversation and we'll continue it offline. But that said, Sumaira, Manvendra, Amit, huge round of applause for all of you, please. A quick photo op before we continue.
Thank you, Pooja, for that. And a big thank you to all of her panelists. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have the applause going for this very important conversation on climate. It's impacting all of us. It's affecting all businesses. It is truly very important. All right, moving on now. We have our, let's wait for the stage to get cleared, and then we will continue to the main highlight of this evening. Right, so we will be going on and continuing, and then of course we're joined by our chief guest. We have a very special guest also with us, and then we will be heading into the awards, which I know all your nominees are here and excitedly waiting for that. Before that, I'd just like to invite up on stage member of Rajya Sabha, Shri Milind Devra, to share his thoughts here this evening at the Leaders of Tomorrow Awards.
A very good evening.
At the outset, let me begin by congratulating all the awardees for this evening, for those who are nominated but are perhaps not being awarded. I'd like to congratulate you as well. I'm very grateful to the Economic Times, to ET Now, for season 13 of this extremely important event, which seeks to reward the efforts and the innovation capabilities of young entrepreneurs across India, especially in the MSME sector. I'm not planning to speak. I'm joined by my very esteemed colleague who, when I became a member of parliament in 2004 at the tender age of 27, I was 27 and a half. And Dr. Shrikant Shinde beat me to it when he became a youngest member of parliament at the age of 27 and a quarter. Someone who is highly qualified, an orthopedic surgeon by profession, which is very rare in politics. So I would like him to say a few words, but all I would say is that there's never been a more exciting time to be an entrepreneur in India. For that matter, there's never been a more exciting time to be an entrepreneur anywhere in the world. I think given the macro environment today, if you look at war, you look at technological disruptions, you look at supply chain changes, no country in the world is doing as well as India is today. And for that, it's my duty to congratulate the government of India led by Narendra Modi ji, to congratulate the state government led by the Chief Minister, by our Deputy Chief Minister Eknath Shinde ji, who have transformed not just the MMR Mumbai metropolitan region in terms of infrastructure and making this region the cultural, economic infrastructure hub of India, but are doing massive yeoman service to the state of Maharashtra in ensuring that we retain our position as the #1 most industrialized state in the country. So with these words, once again, I want to congratulate all the entrepreneurs. I have no doubt that each and every one of you will make us very proud. I was pleased to know that the jury members are Mr. Bagla, Mrs. Naina Lal Kidwai, Mr. Pawan Goenka, all of whom are playing a very, very vital role in encouraging innovation in so many sectors. Pawan Goenka, of course, ex-Mahindra, who is now heading the space mission in the government of India. Naina Lal Kidwai, who used to head HSBC and is playing a pivotal role in transforming India into a fintech capital. And Mr. Bagla, of course, who is encouraging more innovation in India. The one theme that I would leave behind is one area where India needs to catch up is we don't spend as much on research and development and innovation as other countries do. So I'm very confident that in the years ahead, there is a huge thrust by the government of Maharashtra, by the government of India, to encourage innovation, which will unleash the powers of entrepreneurs, especially those in the MSME sector. Once again, I congratulate each and every one of you, and I'm very grateful to ET Now for putting this event together and inviting us. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Devra, for that. It's now time, ladies and gentlemen, to hear from our chief guest of the evening. As Mr. Devra said, our chief guest is a 3-term member of parliament from Kalyan in Maharashtra. He's a trained orthopedic surgeon. From driving key infrastructure projects and multimodal transport corridors to championing accessible healthcare initiatives like the 1 rupee clinics and mobile diagnostics, he has been at the forefront of impactful public service. He also leads large-scale medical outreach through the Dr. Shrikant Shinde Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we call up on stage our chief guest, Member of Parliament Lok Sabha, Dr. Shrikant Shinde, for his keynote address.
Thank you very much, and thank you, ET Now, for having both of us here. I'll congratulate all the entrepreneurs here who are being awarded for their meritorious job they have been doing in their field since a long time. Since it is a 13th season that ET Now is conducting that says Leaders of Tomorrow Awards. And the theme also, the agility, ambition and ascent. I think in today's scenario perspective, the theme is very apt and prompt. MSMEs, which are growing at a tremendous pace. India, I think, contributes 30%. MSMEs contributes 30% in India's growth. And you are not only awarding the entrepreneurs here, I think they are the growth engines of India who will take India to the third largest economy. I think you are a very important and crucial role these MSMEs are playing. Exports also, 50% of the exports are done by MSMEs. Under the leadership of our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji, I think we have a very favorable environment where MSMEs are growing at a tremendous pace. And in Maharashtra, startups, we are number one in startups, we are number one in FDIs, we are number one in infrastructure. So these MSMEs also have a lot of scope in coming future. As we have already awarded small MSME that time, Paytm, long time back. Now that MSME has grown into a big unicorn, then I think this kind of platforms are very much important for small entrepreneurs who come from rural areas, interiors, where this MSME plays a very crucial role. I think a place like Mumbai has a lot of startups, a lot of industries, everything is there. But in rural areas, these are the MSMEs who are the growth engines of our Vikasit Bharat, I would say. And मुझे यहाँ पर आप सभी ने यहाँ पर बुलाया, तो मैं फिर से एक बार आप सबका बहुत बहुत यहाँ पर धन्यवाद अदा करता हूँ. और जैसे मिलिंद ने यहाँ पर कहा कि रिसर्च में भी बहुत ज़्यादा स्कोप है. आज MSMEs सिर्फ एक सेक्टर से सीमित नहीं है. ये MSMEs अलग अलग क्षेत्र से और हर अलग अलग जगहों से हमें इनोवेटर्स मिलते हैं, एंटरप्रेन्योर्स मिलते हैं. सरकार भी इसके अंदर अच्छी कोशिश कर रही है आने वाले समय में कि किस तरीके से MSME को बढ़ावा दिया जाए. इसलिए इस बजट में SME फंड 10,000 करोड़ सरकार ने खुद अलोकेट किया है. मुझे लगता है बहुत बड़ी पहल सरकार के माध्यम से भी यहाँ पर हुई है, जो MSMEs को एक बढ़ावा देगी. और रिसर्च में आने वाले समय में सरकार भी इन्वेस्ट करेगी और MSMEs के माध्यम से भी बहुत ज़्यादा रिसर्च इनोवेशन इस आने वाले समय में होगा. एजिलिटी, जैसे जिस तरीके से परिस्थिति बदल रही है उस तरीके से एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को भी बदलना बहुत ज़रूरी है परिस्थिति के अनुसार. आज जिस तरीके से हम देख रहे हैं कि UAE की परिस्थिति क्या है, वहाँ पर किस तरीके से मिडिल ईस्ट में वॉर चल रहा है, अलग अलग देशों में अलग अलग चीज़ें हो रही है. उसी तरीके से ज़रूरत अनुसार चीज़ें और इनोवेशन भी MSMEs को करना बहुत ज़रूरी है. पहले हम लोग वॉर बॉर्डर पे लड़ते थे, आज बॉर्डर पे वॉर लड़ना नहीं पड़ता. आज ड्रोन्स के माध्यम से वॉर यहाँ पर हो रहा है, उसमें बहुत ज़्यादा इनोवेशन हो रहा है. तो मैं कहूँगा नहीं कि इनोवेशन, लेकिन आवश्यकता अनुसार एक फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी होनी चाहिए. तो इसलिए एजिलिटी, एम्बिशन तो सबको होना चाहिए. छोटा एंटरप्रेन्योर है, उसको एम्बिशन बड़े होने का, यूनिकॉर्न होने का, जब तक एम्बिशन नहीं होगा तब तक वो बड़ा नहीं होगा. और एजिलिटी और एम्बिशन के साथ एसेंट तो होना ही है. लेकिन मुझे लगता है कि इसमें जब एक MSME या एक एंटरप्रेन्योर आगे बढ़ता है, वो जब आगे बढ़ता है तो उसके साथ में सोसाइटी और पूरे देश को आगे लेके जाने की ताकत जो है ये MSMEs को होती है. तो मैं सभी एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को यहाँ पर फिर से एक बार अभिनंदन करता हूँ. मैं सभी जूरी मेंबर्स का यहाँ पे तहे दिल से अभिनंदन, धन्यवाद अदा करता हूँ कि आप लोगों ने दूर दराज पूरे भारत से यहाँ पर एंटरप्रेन्योर्स को बुलाया, उनको सम्मानित करने का आप यहाँ पर काम कर रहे हैं. मैं सभी एंटरप्रेन्योर्स का, सभी का तहे दिल से फिर से एक बार बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद अदा करता हूँ. थैंक यू वेरी मच. थैंक यू.
Thank you, Dr. Shinde, for that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd now like to request and I'd like to call up on stage once again the CEO of Times Television Network and Chief Growth Officer, Times Group Media and Entertainment, Ashish Sehgal, along with Managing Editor, Times Network and Chief Business Officer, Times Influence, Mihir Bhatt, to felicitate our honorable chief guest with the trophy of Leaders of Tomorrow Special Recognition in Public Service. Can we have a huge round of applause? And I'd also like to call up on stage Mr. Milind Devra, the MP from Rajya Sabha. Please, sir, if you can join you. And I'd request Ashish and Mihir to present Mr. Devra also with his trophy of the Leaders of Tomorrow Special Recognition in Public Service. Mr. Devra, Dr. Shinde, sir, may I request you to please stay on for the awards ceremony. Thank you. All right, I'd also like to invite up on stage the head retail liabilities IDFC FIRST Bank, Mr. Ashish Singh, to join our guest to hand over the next set of awards, along with the Managing Director, Tata Tele Services, Mr. Harjeet Singh, and our jury member, Mr. Firuz Khambata. Sir, can we have you on stage, sir, for this first set of awards presentation? All right, ladies and gentlemen, with that, let's kick start with our very first category this evening, Excellence in Agriculture and Food Solutions. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category, Excellence in Digital and AI Transformation. CSM Technologies Limited, Da Spatio Robotic Laboratory, Analytics, and Enlight Research.
Right, the winner in this category is Enlight Research Private Limited. Can I request Garima Bhardwaj to come up on stage to receive the award? Our next category is Excellence in Professional and Business Services, and here are the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category, Excellence in Professional and Business Services. Control M Marketing Solutions, Illumini Communications LLP, JM Solutions, and Practice Professional Services.
And the winner is Jayam Solutions Private Limited. May I request Mr. Pratap PVN to come up on stage to receive the award. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause. These are the leaders of tomorrow. Our next category is Excellence in Sustainability. Here's a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category, Excellence in Sustainability. Hitachi Swipe Green, Minimax Systems, Prime Fresh Limited, Surya Logics, and UIPL Innovations.
And the winner is Surya Logics Private Limited. I'd like to request Mr. Nitin Gutte and his team to come up on stage to receive the award. Let's have that applause going, ladies and gentlemen. Our next category is Excellence in digital commerce and logistics. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in Digital Commerce and Logistics. Emaze Tech, Mahavira Transport, Matchlog Solutions, and Vast Pro Technologies.
And the winner is Matchlog Solutions Private Limited. I'd like to invite up on stage Mr. Harsh Gupta to receive his award. I think Mr. Gupta is not in the house. He is. He's coming in. Can we have him here? Mr. Harsh Gupta of Matchlog Solutions Private Limited. Yes, congratulations, sir. Can we have you on stage? Our next category is Excellence in D2C Design and Lifestyle Innovation. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category D2C Design and Lifestyle Innovation. Adya Originals, Gulmohar Lane Lifestyle, Kanya Enterprise, and Tissa Artisans Trust.
And the winner is Kanya Enterprise Private Limited. May I request Abhijit and Vanshika Kaji to come up on stage to receive their award. I believe they're not in the room at the moment. We'll move on to our next category, which is Excellence in EVs and Mobility Solutions. Let's take a look at the nominees in this category.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in EVs and Mobility Solutions. Eshaw Body, FTA HSRP Solutions, and Broise Powertrain Innovations.
And the winner is B Shaw Buddy Private Limited. May I request Sartaj Lamba to come up on stage to receive the award. Let's have a huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. I know you can clap louder than that. And as most of you in the house are entrepreneurs yourself, you know it isn't an easy task. Can we have Mrs. Lamba's husband up on stage? She has a request that you should join her, sir. Congratulations. Our next category is Excellence in Health and Wellness. And here's a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in Health and Wellness. Blue Ocean Studios, ImmunoLife, and Sterling Accurus Wellness.
And the winner is Sterling Accurus Wellness Private Limited. I'd like to invite up on stage Rajiv Sharma to receive the award. Congratulations. I'd also like to take a moment to thank Mr. Harjeet Singh and Mr. Khambata for doing the honors. Dr. Shinde, Mr. Devra, Ashish, please stay on for our next set of awards. Our next category is Excellence in Global Exports and International Business. I'd also like to invite up on stage our grand jury members, Mr. Nilesh Lele, Mr. Prashant Naigaonkar, and Mr. Jayant Krishna to join the dignitaries on stage to hand out the next set of awards. And let's take a look at the nominees in this next category.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in Global Exports and International Business. Casa Arte Decor, Consulting Engineers Group Limited, CEG, Grasper Global, and Putari Metzol.
And the winner in this category is Grasper Global Private Limited. May I like to request Mr. Dwanil Sheth to come up on stage to receive the award. And team. Let's take a look at our next category, which is Excellence in Construction and Real Estate. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in Construction and Real Estate. Kalyani Polymers, South India Shelters, and Techno Green Air Conditioning.
And the winner is Kalyani Polymers Private Limited. I'd like to invite Mr. Naresh Kumar to come up on stage to receive the award. And the team. Our next category, Excellence in Agriculture and Food Solutions. Here's a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in Agriculture and Food Solutions. Ananya Seeds, Natural Storage Solutions, Old Goa Oils and Foods, and Organica Biotech.
And the winner is Organica Biotech Private Limited. I'd like to invite Mr. Ganesh Kamath on stage to receive the award. Can we have the applause going, ladies and gentlemen? Moving on to our next category, Excellence in Travel, Hospitality and Experience. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in Travel, Hospitality and Experience. Tamanna Hotels, Travel Sukham, Zoe World Limited, and Trav Shop.
And the winner is Trav Shop Private Limited. I'd like to invite Mr. Vikas Khadaria to come up on stage to receive the award. On to the next category, which is Excellence in EdTech and Skill Development. Here's a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in EdTech and Skill Development. EduBook, eNurture Learning, Emarticus Learning, and Sangya Shiksha Evam Samaj Kalyan Samiti.
The winner is Immorticus Learning Private Limited. I'd like to invite up on stage Nikhil Ajit Varshikar to receive the award. All right, let's move on to our next category, which is Excellence in Smart Manufacturing. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Excellence in Smart Manufacturing. BBW Global Tech, Bharat Parenterals Limited, Kalyani Cast Tech Limited, and Matrix Comsec.
And the winner is Kalyani Cast Tech Limited. I'd like to invite Mr. Naresh Kumar to come up stage to receive the award. Congratulations on that. May I request, may I thank Mr. Nilesh Lele, Mr. Prashant Naigaonkar and Mr. Jayant Krishna. Dr. Shinde, Mr. Devra and Ashish, just a couple of more awards. Request you to continue on stage because it's time to move on to the final awards of the evening. This is starting with the family-owned MSME of the year. This category celebrates legacy, resilience, and generational vision. Let's take a look at the nominees in this category.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Family-Owned MSME of the Year. Encom Thermal Engineers, Swam Pneumatics, and Velangi Connectivity, formerly ESSD Industries.
And the winner is Swam Pneumatics Private Limited. I'd like to request the founder, Mr. Abhishek Gambhir, to come up on stage to receive the award. Keep the applause going, ladies and gentlemen. And just to let you know that the entries have been received from all over India, all across the country. We received more than 500 entries, and EY, along with our esteemed jury, have selected these winners that you are seeing and applauding here today. Moving on to the next category, Next Gen Innovator. Let's take a look at the nominees.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Next Gen Innovator. Daspacio Robotic Laboratory, DSRL, Grasper Global, Illumini Communications LLP, and Bare Necessities Zero Waste Solutions.
The winner is Grasper Global Private Limited. I'd like to request once again the team from Grasper Global to come up on stage to receive their second award of this evening, ladies and gentlemen. You can clap louder than that. All right, let's celebrate this next category with Women's Day around the corner. Let's celebrate their passion, dedication, and impact of women entrepreneurs as we unveil the nominees for the Woman Entrepreneur of the Year category.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Woman Entrepreneur of the Year. EduBook, eNurture Learning, Enlight Research, Kanya Enterprise, and Tissa Artisans Trust.
And the winner is the co-founder of Kanya Enterprise Private Limited, Vanshika Kaji. This is her second win of the evening. Yes, please do take it on her behalf. head into our next category. Just once again wanted to share with you because we've had nominees coming in from all parts of the country, north, south, east, west, central. More than 500 entries this year have participated in Leaders of Tomorrow Awards Season 13, and EY along with the grand jury have picked these winners. All right, let's raise a toast to the entrepreneurs shaping the future of India. Let's take a look at the nominees for the final category of Season 13, the nominations for the Entrepreneur of the Year category.
Presenting the distinguished nominees for the category Entrepreneur of the Year. Ananya Seeds, Prime Fresh Limited, Matrix Comsec, and Amy's Tech.
All right, the winner, the CEO and MD of Matrix Comsec Private Limited, Mr. Ganesh Jivani. Can we have you on stage, sir? Let's keep that huge round of applause going for sir. Thank you, dignitaries. Just one last bit is left. I'll take 2 more minutes of your time. We'd like to celebrate the exceptional achievements of some of IDFC FIRST Bank's esteemed customers who have made remarkable contributions in their respective fields. Let's give a huge round of applause as we felicitate for the IDFC FIRST Bank Rising Star for Excellence in Sustainability, which goes to Bamboo Plant Fiber Technology for their remarkable contribution in the sector. Can we have the team from Bamboo up on stage, please? Up is the IDFC FIRST Bank Rising Star for Excellence in Smart Manufacturing. This goes to Space Fields for the outstanding work that they are doing. Congratulations. Please do join us on stage. And finally, our last award, IDFC FIRST Bank Rising Star for Excellence in EVs and Mobility Solutions. This goes to Sproutech Solutions for the work that they are doing. The team from Sproutech is with us. The brand name is Lawyered. Okay, brand name is Lawyered. All right, ladies and gentlemen, please keep that applause going, and I'd like to invite all the winners up on stage for a group photo op with the chief guest and dignitaries. All the winners of this evening, may I request you to please come back up on stage with your trophies, along with our presenters, our jury members who are here this evening. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a round of applause. Let's keep that applause going. These are the stars of the evening, the stars of Leaders of Tomorrow, Season 13. You know, as they say, there's no winners and there are no losers. But entrepreneurship and SMEs and the MSMEs and the startups have definitely been the big winners here this evening. Let's keep that applause going, ladies and gentlemen, for this set of winners here this evening. so much, ladies and gentlemen. A big heartfelt thank you to Dr. Shrikant Shinde, Mr. Devra, Mr. Ashish Singh, and to the jury members. Thank you so much. And hearty congratulations to all the winners, all the nominees that have been a part of Leaders of Tomorrow Season 13 Awards. That's all the time that we have for today, but not before making a promise that we will keep striving to recognize the very best of MSMEs from across India. A big thank you to our presenting partner, IDFC FIRST Bank, and Mr. V. Vaidyanathan, without whom this evening would not have been possible. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Please do join us for dinner.